around. Hey, it's Romania Black, and we're talking about Cube. This is just the live stream for Cube. That's all it is. But for Puella Magi Madoka Magica, we're going to talk about this series today, and I'm so excited. I can't believe I'm actually doing a live stream for a series I have finished in its entirety. Too short. Well, we still have another movie coming up. We'll talk about that. But hello, welcome to the chat. I've got the live chat on. I'm super excited to be here. Cube is going to be hanging out with us the entire time. I'm not going to be destroying him, so don't worry, Cube enthusiasts. He will be kept safe. I'm going to keep Cube on my person at all times. It's going to be great. Lyndon is owed a massive amount of thanks for letting Cube come on to the live stream and join us for our Puella Magi Madoka Magica reactions. So hello, I hope you all are having a great day. It's Sunday, it's the afternoon. I usually do my live streams in the morning, but I wanted to do this one in the afternoon because where I'm at, hello, Nicholas, happy Sunday. Monday for some of you, probably. I wanted to do this live stream in the afternoon because I wanted to give people on YouTube enough time to watch the movie because it just came out on YouTube for the reactions this morning. So no, submit to the urge and destroy him. Look, I am like Homura. I've come to the decision that he needs to stick around and fight off evil curses. So that's why he's here. Hi, Estefania Alfonso. Hi, Devilesque. Hello. So yeah, Cube is basically going to be doing my dirty work and warding off curses from this office from now on. He gets no choice. He has to do it for eternity. Hello, Trixie L. Oh, nice. I'm glad you were able to catch the live stream today. Thank you. Hello, Cookielicious. Hello, Emily Warmer. Wow. Seeing all these people in here that have commented the last 12 weeks is really exciting. I'm super excited about that. Yes, exactly, Pro Pinkest. It is much better to psychologically torment him than to kill him. Death is easy. Living is harder. Let's go with that, right? Let's go with that one. True. I hope you all are having a great day. But yeah, I want to give you all time to watch the movie this morning as it came out and for patrons to get excited about the new series coming up that is replacing Madoka Magica, sadly, but surely. And yes, this is live, Cyber. Oh my God, what? It's a live stream? No, Cyber, I actually recorded all this and anticipated everyone being here. I'm just making psychic predictions. It's kind of what my wish was for. So no, we're going to talk about that here in just a second. Huckleberry will never trust that little Cube. No, Huckleberry, I got this from Lyndon, who is a patron over on Patreon. They sent me this Cube, and I was actually contemplating getting one myself because on the shelf back there, I don't know if you all can see it, there is a Madara from Natsume Jujincho. There's some classmates things. There's a lot of Yona of the Dawn. There's Banana Fish. There's Monster. There's lots of Don Mai. There's Death Note down the corner. But I wanted kind of a Cube because I thought this series is so special. It's so good. And I want something to take away from it to be in the space for future reactions that kind of just signifies it. And Cube is pretty iconic. So I was thinking about getting one, but then I was like, do I spend money on something that brings me so much anger? And luckily, I didn't have to do that. Lyndon sent me this Cube, and I was honestly half contemplating getting a Cube just to take a flamethrower to, or throw off a cliff or something, do horrible acts to. But since Lyndon spent their time and money getting this to me, I can't destroy it. It's too precious. So it's just going to have to sit on my shelf forever, remind you all of the horror, as Cyber has said, and then just be there for us, to just be there to signify the series and how great it is going on. But yeah, I feel like the psychological trauma is better for Cube. So yeah, I'm going to keep him here the entire time with me. So yeah, meanwhile, Huckleberry's having me throw this toy. So if you see me bend down, that's what it's for. What else do we have in here? Imagine the emblem for Madoka being the most detestable little demon. I mean, it seems pretty on brand. It seems pretty on point for the series. I think that's fine. NYC Reaching, the ending in Rebellion is so good. Yes, I really loved the comment that I will talk about it in a future reaction because we still have a couple more reactions for Madoka Magica this month and early August to go, which I'm going to talk about. But there were a couple comments. I can't remember if it was Data Weaver or who it was, but they were talking about how and for the first time at the end of Rebellion, you've seen Kyubey with these soulless, lifeless eyes the entire series. And then at the very end of Rebellion, he shows like some pain and sorrow. And it's like, oh, yes, Homer is going to make you feel emotions, Kyubey. That was the whole point. So, yes, what a cute little kitty. Here's the thing, I've actually seen this. I've seen Kyubey before I started the series. The only, I guess it was a spoiler in hindsight, but the only thing I had seen from Madoka Magica before I started the series was I've seen Kyubey at a convention. I've seen plushies of him or figurines of him. And I just remember thinking, oh, that's probably from a Magical Girl anime. And that's all I thought. I was like, that seems like from a Magical Girl. It's pink, it's white, it's got cutesy features to it. It doesn't quite look like a Digimon. I was like, it's probably from a Magical Girl anime, but that's all I knew. I knew nothing else of what this series was. And I'm so glad I knew nothing else, because going into this blind was such a fun experience. It was so good. And I want to give a shout out to Geen. I don't think they're going to be able to make the chat. I don't know that for sure. But Geen over on Patreon, because my other moderators that normally moderate my shows, they had not seen this. And so they were like, they're like, we don't really feel comfortable moderating because we don't know. We don't have time to watch the show. And I was like, that's fine. So I kind of put out like an all call saying, is there anybody that wants to moderate? And Geen has voluntarily moderated for me before. And so they were like, oh, I'll moderate. And I was like, awesome. And they did such a great job of making sure that I went in blind, because that's my thing. I don't like knowing anything about shows. I love formulating my own theories. I love coming up with different ideas about it. And I feel like once you kind of know the plot, it does mentally and psychologically make your mind think of things that normally it wouldn't. So I wanted to kind of go in as a blank slate. And Geen was so understanding of that. And I was really appreciative of it. So yes. Bro, what else is there to watch? Well, that's a fun thing you ask. So Pancake over on Patreon, they compiled for me in the Discord a list of different extras that they thought that I could react to. So coming in a couple weeks, there's going to be basically when Freerun finishes up, which is going to be in a couple weeks, on Saturday. I think it's July. On Patreon, it'll be July 16th. On YouTube, it'll be the July week after that. I'm going to be looking at the audio drama #1, so we can talk about that today. The first audio drama with the black cat that I finally know what it's about. Thank you, Geen, for not letting me be spoiled, because a lot of people try to spoil me on that damn black cat. And I was like, So yeah, here's the thing, Cyber. There are so many extras. I'm not obviously looking at all of them. I'm going to be looking at the first audio drama as well as the transformation sequence from the movie, as well as the new OP from the movie. So those three things are going to be in one reaction. And then the following week, I'm going to be looking at the third audio drama, as well as there's an outtakes blooper from the English dub, kind of like what I did with Berserk. And there is this big, the parody of Madoka. I'm going to be looking at that too, which I will be honest, I felt like an outsider watching the Madoka parody, because y'all, it was very highly recommended. And it was funny in parts. There are parts that I was like, oh, this is my humor. But then there were parts of the Madoka parody that I was like, I feel like an outsider watching this. I feel like I wasn't around at the appropriate time to see it and find it absolutely hilarious, as I think the fandom finds it, because you all were like in the moment and finding it. And being Maguka is suffering. Yes, it's not exactly my type of humor, but there were parts of it like the Kyubey with the 2010 sunglasses with the shades through them that looks like he's about to be singing Party Rock. That I thought was freaking hilarious, and the rap at the end, which I'm the whitest thing ever. So for me, I was like, yeah. I thought that was a lot of fun. That was really great. But yes, so I want to look at the chat here for a second. I'm so excited we have so many people in the chat. I was wondering today if y'all would come and talk about Madoka Magica with me. Maybe I'm pronouncing it right for the final time. Maybe I'll get it right. It's kind of like Hanako-kun when I did the reactions for that series. I said Hanako's name wrong the entire time. And then finally in the last episode, I got it. And they were like, good for you. Pronunciation's my worst thing ever. So I appreciate people trying to help out. But yeah, I'm obviously not going to be able to see all of the extras. Like the manga, for example. I know there are some arcs of the manga I would like to get to it eventually, but it's not going to be right now. So Cyber, to be honest, I don't know how to pronounce things. This is my problem. I told somebody on Patreon, I was like, I appreciate people trying to help me, but I find oftentimes when people try to help pronunciation, either one person gets it wrong and they're adamant about it. And I'm like, oh, so this must be right. And then somebody else is like, no, that's not right. This is right. And then another person's like, well, actually, no, they're wrong. It's this. And I'm like, I don't know who's right and who's wrong. So it just becomes a struggle bus. And I'm like, I guess I'm just going to work through it and try my best. So I try to listen to the anime to see how they pronounce it and go from there. But sometimes my brain just doesn't remember. It's like, I feel like that is the curse of being not a native speaker of any reaction, is that if you're not a native speaker, it's just going to be hard and you just have to roll with it. And I'm from a section of the US that have like 1,000 different redneck dialects at once. So sometimes it comes out and I'm like, oh my God. At least, Grenache, you're totally right. At least the series has the most pronounceable name ever, like Walpurgisnacht. Is that right? Walpurgisnacht? Is that correct? The Walrus Witch. We'll just call her the Walrus Witch. Yes. That was the one I struggled with the most because it's German and I'm like, oh, these long German words, help, SOS. And someone tried to help me pronounce it and they made like the schnot into schnart and I was like, this doesn't seem right, but you're telling me it is. And then everybody was like, what are you doing? And I was like, Cube, I wish I could pronounce things appropriately from here on in. And Cube's like, what are you wishing for? Is that really what you're doing, bitch? Is that gonna be your wish? So yeah, if Hamura suffering was the joke. Walrus fart, yes. We just adjusted our minds. Thank you, Shimayama. Shimayama's from Japan, so they are very kind in the struggle. And thank you, the person above Shimayama in the chat, whose name unfortunately your username I can't pronounce because it is in Japanese. I'm glad that you're understanding. That means a lot. So yeah, what does Pro Pinka say here? You finished it in time for the game coming out. Oh, Frank Ace, is there a game coming out for Madoka Magica? I'm excited about that. I'm not a gamer, but that is really, really exciting. And then Pro Pinkett says, the way I didn't even think of anything of the cat in the OP when I first watched. Yeah, I always see. Here's the thing. I'm so used to OPs in anime either being completely full of spoilers that are going to spoil you to the content, or it's going to be where they're context clues and there's things that you're going to find out later. So when I saw that black cat and when they had Homura as cat-like, I was like, oh, well, is Homura able to become a cat? Is this going to be something that's going to come up in the show? Did I crack the code? And the answer is no. It's a nod to the first audio drama and a little extra. And I'm like, oh, clever show. Good job. Although, if we're going to talk about the first audio drama, if y'all haven't seen it, I'm going to have a reaction out to it, like I said, at the end of July. But the relationship that Madoka has with the black cat does connect back to Homura, which is a lot of fun. So do a Donmai related live stream if you get time. I definitely will for Scum Villain when we get done with it and caught up. Gonna do one. It'll probably be like around New Year's by the time I finish Scum Villain, but I definitely will for that series. Faux show. There's a new Madoka game coming out. That's so cool. I love that there is new content for this series because I didn't realize how old this series was until you all started talking about it coming out like 10, 12 years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's been a while. So I really thought that was cool that we're getting new content for this series after so late in the game, because I'm sure the fandom is like having a blast with this news because the series is so good that I'm like, oh, any new content sounds amazing. Nice. Let me see here. It's a P2P game on Steam. Interesting. Okay. All right. Nice. Mid. Cyber, you're such a troll. The game is another mobile game replacing Magia Record, which is shutting down soon. Oh, it's shutting down. Well, that's sad. So does that mean if the game is shutting down, I'm not a big game person, so my brother is like the person I go to if I have questions about the lingo. Does shutting down mean that the game is just stopping and you won't be able to play it anymore? Since it's a mobile game, there's no way to like have a physical copy of it to play. Interesting. Anna, if you don't know what the Black Cat is about, I'm going to be doing a reaction to the first audio drama, and that's going to explain what the cat is about. So I won't spoil it for you all, but it explains it, and then you're like, oh, and that adds a whole new layer of context. That's the one thing I love about this series is that you just have layers. layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. And that was the one thing people told me throughout this entire experience. They're like, when you go back and rewatch, you're gonna find new things to catch you didn't catch before. And that's a sign of a good series. The rewatchability of something is because we all know that person, or we are that person. I'm that person that if I find a show I like, I just, when I'm not on the channel, if I find a show I like, I just rewatch it over and over again because it's so good. And I feel like Madoka Magica is going to be one of those series that I'm going to keep coming back to. Not, maybe not like religiously because it's got some darkness and heaviness to it, but I'm going to keep coming back to it to kind of look at it, especially the movie Rebellion, and just see what I missed and pick up little things as we go. Like that's going to be so much fun. Oh yeah, Megumi Mary, yes. Megumi, absolutely. If you want to share the theory about the Junko could have been a magical girl theory, I am all for it, honestly, because at this point, with the exception of the new movie coming out, which I'll talk about here in a second, I'm okay with hearing stuff about the series now because I've done my extra reactions that I want to do. I might go back and look at the manga eventually, but it's going to be a while. But if you all have theories or things to share about the series, I'm totally for it. The only thing I don't want to know about is the new movie because I'm hopefully going to be able to react to it. So that's the only thing I want off the books is like, just don't tell me about the movie. I'm going to talk. I had a question from Patreon about it, so I'm going to talk about it here in a little bit, but my thoughts about it, but I don't want to know any details because I want to make sure. So yeah, awesome. I tried to give Jackie, I'm looking at your comment in the chat. I tried to give a little bit of time to watch the movie and the discussion before I did the live stream, but I wanted to do it today because it's fresh. We're fresh off the movie and all of that. That is sad, Cyber, that it's just milking money by having a new game and shutting down the old one. Sad days. Yes. And then it looks like Santiago there. Hello, Santiago. Definitely excited about Utina, which is replacing Madoka on Sundays. It's going to be, we're going from one magical girl anime to somewhat, kind of, maybe, who knows, another version of it next weekend. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Frank Ace in the chat says, maybe it isn't as impactful now with how many series followed in its footsteps, but how do you feel it twisted the magical girl genre being a Sailor Moon fan? Oh my God, Frank, what a great question. And we're going to do that one before I get to your theory, Megumi. To answer your question, Frank, I grew up like Sailor Moon was one of the first anime I ever watched. I'm wearing a Rainbow Bright shirt today because it's, you know, another magical girl series, just Western animation, maybe, possibly, who knows? But I grew up watching Sailor Moon and I love that series to pieces. It's one of my favorites, but I absolutely love as an adult the concept of twisting the magical girl, like, oh, it's all sunshine and rainbows. We're fighting evil together as a team, and showing just how dark and twisted that entire concept can become and what it does with these teenage girls. And it was done so well. And everything that I could pick out little themes from Sailor Moon, like little moments in the episode where they'd work together or they'd say something, and Madoka Magica would just switch it on its head. And I'm like, oh, that's so clever. That's so good. I think that's one of the reasons I love this series so much, because growing up as a kid, as a fan of Sailor Moon, and this Sailor Moon was like my first Yuri experience too. And so growing up with that and then it translating into adulthood, watching this series, it was just like, chef's kiss, flawless. Like I think that's what made me love this series so much. Yes. Pro Pinkest, you say in the chat the servers are shutting down, so it'll be unplayable. That's so sad. I'm so heartbroken about that. It's something you have to accept as an inevitability with these games. That is the crazy thing about mobile games. And just a quick side note as I'm going through the chat, it's that concept that we don't have physical media, so things that are digital, the companies can just choose to shut off and then erase, which is so scary and tragic, because if you really like something, you kind of want it available. So, I mean, for Utina, for example, Revolutionary Girl Utina, that's a series replacing this one next week on YouTube. Episode 1's on Patreon right now. But I had to have a patron help me find the files because the streaming services pulled the series as soon as it won the poll. And I was like, oh no. So, and I have a lot of problem with inscription on Blu-ray because I want to support the official release. So I'll probably get the Blu-ray, but I can't react to it. So it's really sad, but I hope that people take enough like screen shares and file shares of the original game, the Magica record. I hope that they do enough screenshots of it so where they can play it back and people have access to that content. Yeah, that's really sad though. So, okay, Megumi Mary, your theory here. Part of my annual Madoka Magica celebration. Okay, if you could something related to May, I would love it. Oh, so is it Madoka? Oh, that's cool. Okay, well, Megumi Mary, I would love to go back because May is my birthday month and I love this series. So I'm not gonna, don't hold me to it because that's gonna be a while from now. But it would be cool to maybe go back and do like the manga or look at something with Madoka Magica to like review the manga or do a reaction to it or some other extras. That would be cool in the month of May. That would be a lot of fun. So I'm gonna put that on the back burner. So Grishnash says, I think watching your reactions was the fourth or fifth time I've watched the series all the way through. Yeah, that is the one thing I'm super, super excited about is just rewatching the series and seeing, especially in Rebellion. Oh my God. I think I could have taken 5 hours dissecting Rebellion if I really, really wanted to. But you all would have been like, girl, just let it go. So I definitely am excited to go back and rewatch it. That will be a lot of fun. So Undecided Toy Store says, Romania, after catching up with everything, have you started to trust Cube again? Maybe enough to make a contract with him and become a magical girl? Look at that little face. Look at his little ear paws reaching into your soul to take it. What are you talking about? I did have a question from Bampsy that was the same thing. Bampsy over on Patreon asked, knowing what you know now, would you make a wish? And if so, for what? Well, first of all, no, I would not make a wish with this monster. No. Absolutely not. I've watched enough anime at this point to know we don't make Faustian devil deals. That never ends well. So especially knowing that you could become a witch, and you probably will. I mean, unless it's like post-rebellion. But yeah, knowing what I know now, would not make a wish. Would say that was cute, nice going, and like booted him away. But here's the thing. If I didn't know, if I was like Madoka at the very beginning of the series where she didn't know what she knew now about this monster and his wishes, that's a little bit harder. But to answer your question, I'm really indecisive. And that's why I have polls on Patreon to begin with, because I'm like, I don't know what to watch next. So I'm really indecisive. I don't have a tattoo because I can't decide on one. And I'm deathly afraid of needles, but mostly for indecisiveness. So I don't know if I could think up a wish that would be enough to satisfy, I don't know if I could think up a wish that would be enough to satisfy selling my soul for it. I will say this. Several people told me in the comments that Hitomi, her wish would have been to erase all incubators. I think that would be my wish. That's what I thought Madoka was going to wish for in episode 12. I thought she was going to wish for the incubators to be destroyed. But in hindsight, that doesn't really match up with Madoka's pure medieval shoujo fantasy Jesus, persona. So I was like, well, Madoka's not going to wish for Kyubey to be destroyed. That doesn't fit her persona at all. But that kind of might have been my wish, because in hindsight, if all the incubators are gone, there's still going to be witches, but you won't be able to create any more magical girls. So eventually, either the witches are going to destroy the world, but there won't be any more magical girls suffering. So I don't know. I wish you could have made the story a lot shorter if Hitomi had become a magical girl and teamed up with Madoka. And then you could have had Madoka wishing to save the world, and then Hitomi wishing to get rid of the incubators. And it would have been like a wham, bam, 2 birds, 1 stone. We're good. So yeah, I think that would have been my wish as well, to answer your question. Hello, I got some jams. Thank you for the shout out in the chat there. Pro Pinkest, I hate how we're losing physical media so much. Give me collector's editions, not digital things. Yeah, I agree. The problem is I don't have space for all of the physical media that I would like to have, but I do think that is a problem Santiago, they removed Utina on Pride Month. Yeah, that was my thing. Luckily, Anthony on Patreon hooked me up with some files that I could watch that series on. Otherwise, I'm like, yes, I do. I don't want any Utina spoilers in the chat, please, but I will be talking about your comment about the director directing Sailor Moon. So yes. Lautaro P, maybe the Wraith arc manga. Yes. Pancake has told me about the different arcs that I could look at. I've got them wrote down, so don't worry. I definitely think the Wraith arc manga could be cool to look at for Madoka month next year. We'll just wait and see how that goes. Most studios, 89J Best Girl says, get the largest profit from Blu-ray, so that's the way to support them. Yeah, I agree. And I am planning on getting this series on Blu-ray because I want to watch it again and again. So that's definitely in the works along with Utina. That's my goal, so I can support the official release and the creators, but also be able to give you all content as well. Nuko says I'm on the 20 plus rewatch of the movie and still picking up minor details. Yeah, I feel like you could just go back through and rewatch this so many times. Can we see, Cyber says, can we see 20 minutes of Homura abusing Kyubey? What are you talking about? Why would we do that? Why would we possibly do that? Poor Kyubey. I do admit I really love this plush an awful lot, and I'm glad he's going to be sitting on the shelf. But every time I have some vile thought, I'll be like, hey, how's it going, Kyubey? And just, I think one of my favorite moments of Rebellion, and someone in the Discord channel pointed it out, one of my favorite moments is when Homura's like, taking her witch finger and just like poking it on Kyubey, just being like, how's it feel? Like, that's such a great moment. I'm like, oh, that movie is so good at conveying Homura's emotions, her state of being. You can just feel the tension. You can feel the anger oozing off the screen. And it's just, it's just, I could just praise Rebellion all day long, which we'll probably do in this live stream. So yes. Pro Pinkest, there are videos of the story of Magia record from the game posted on the Discord the other day. Oh, I did see screenshots of that. It's different from the main series. Okay, I did see screenshots of that, and I was like, I don't know if these are spoilers or not. I don't know what to do with this. So I kind of just like let it go there. But that is good to know. I think that might be something too later on down the road if they have a sometimes they have cut stories compiled together into like a 2-hour video of like all the cut stories. That might be something cool to watch later on and react to. I don't know if that'll be a thing, but that might be something cool to talk about. Emery Warner says, I've seen Rebellion so many times, and to this day, I'm always finding something new. That's a sign of a good series, the rewatchability. It's like a checkbox. If you watch a series and you don't want to rewatch it again, or you don't feel like you need to, then it's good. It's fine. But if you can rewatch it and find something new each time, that's so good. Trixie L says, 3 anime lessons. 1, no time travel. 2, no resurrecting the dead. 3, no making wishes with cute creatures. That sounds like Genie from Aladdin, where he's like, rule number 1, you can't bring people back from the dead. Rule number 2, you can't kill anybody. Rule number 3, you can't fall in love. Well, Homura breaks all of those rules. So Homura and the Genie would not be getting along because she breaks all the rules. She does kind of inherently kill someone, does fall in love, and she does travel through time. So yeah, I definitely would not do a time travel wish, because time travel freaks me out so much in narratives, because the butterfly effect and the alternate timelines and the splintering of space and time universe. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, so I'm like, so I definitely would not want time travel. And plus, as we learned from Homura, not only do you get trapped in that time loop potentially, but it doesn't do any good. If she didn't have Madoka stepping in and making that wish and setting things in motion outside of the time loop, she would have just been stuck there for years and years and years, going back to the same moment until it just broke her down and she eventually died and became a witch. So yeah, time travel's out. No resurrecting the dead. Someone asked that. I think Pancake. Yep, I have it down here. I've got my questions over here that I'm reading off of. Why do you think the girls never considered a wish to revive someone? Not that they had to make this wish, but it's weird no one considered it as an option. Here's my thing with the wish about the dead, and Trixie Ellis kind of connects to it. And to answer Pancake's question, I honestly think that, first off, Mommy nearly died. So Mommy nearly dying, I don't think she would want to resurrect somebody from the dead, because she knows what that's like. And she's like, no, I don't want to put somebody else through that. 2, I don't think it's one of those things like, I get very Full Metal Alchemist vibes whenever people are talking about resurrecting from the dead. I always think back to that series and like, it's not going to go the way that you think it will. And plus, I feel like once they found out how the soul gems worked and the fact that their souls were separated from their body, it's like, are you bringing back the body, or are you bringing back the soul? Are you going to put it back in a soul gem and they're just going to turn into a witch anyway? What's going to end up happening? And so I think that the smart thing about this series is they did the whole soul gem separating your soul from your body, because that kind of makes it to where that whole resurrection wish takes on a different meaning, and it becomes much more complicated than just, oh, I'm going to wish Sayaka back from the dead. Well, can you? What does that look like? What's that going to do? Do you bring back her soul? Do you bring back the body? Do you bring back both? Do you know how to do that? Can you visualize it? And they're teenage girls, so the chances are them visualizing it perfectly is probably not going to happen. So that's a really good question, but I'm glad they didn't go that route with it. But Megumi Mary in the I'm gonna look at the chat here in a second because there's a lot of comments. On a very recent rewatch with my partner from Madoka, I noticed Kyubei's eyes showed up when Homura was asking mommy and baby about despite lying face down the other way. Yeah, Shaft Studios was also amazing in this series. I loved Shaft's handling of the animation, all the weird moments, the head turn, the hair flips. Every time a character's head turned, you knew some shit was about to go down. Whenever you saw that head turn, you're like, somebody's gonna say something and it's gonna be wild. So I do love that. Ian, the question is, was Madoka influenced by her own in-universe Sailor Moon to trust Kyubei? I feel like Kyubei is such a great antagonist because looking at this little thing, it's so unimposing and it's so cute. And the way that Madoka makes Kyubei such a great antagonist is because Kyubei is not evil inherently. We call him a demon, we call him a monster. We joke about how terrible he is. But at the end of the day, Kyubei doesn't have emotions. He's deceptive and manipulative, but he's just meeting a quota. He's like, I just need to get for my race enough energy, and y'all are here. So what's the big deal? It's basically like Kyubei is a corporation incarnate as a creature. And that's what makes him such a great antagonist to me, is that he's not inherently doing it out of malice. It's like apathy. It's like corporate apathy is literally what he embodies. And that makes him 1,000 times scarier because he doesn't think what he's doing is wrong and he can't understand what they think. So it's wild. Let me see here. Would you consider Kyubei a monster if he laid all the cards on the table about the wishes and each of the girls still went ahead with it? You know what? That's a great question, Frank. I'm going to say this about Kyubei. I think if he had laid all the cards on the table from beginning and told them about their wishes and the repercussions of them, I don't think those girls would have made those wishes. I think they'd have been like, I don't know about that. And then I don't know if they would have gone ahead with it. If they had gone ahead with it, that's a hard call because it's like, human nature. In mommy's case, I think mommy's case to me is the most human because she was dying and she literally saved herself. And how many of us would be like, oh, you mean I have this chance to save myself if I battle witches and I go through with it? Okay. But Sayaka has the foolish wish, which we find out. Kyoko's was seemingly it's a no good deed goes unpunished wish. And then Madoka and Homura's are what they are. So I don't know. I don't think I would have felt bad for Kyubei because I'm like, Kyubei was a corporate entity this whole time. I don't think I feel bad for him. Madoka, it's catching on. I can't wait for the new Madoka movie. Yes, I'm excited. Knowing now that we're getting a new movie, that's so exciting. H89JI Best Girl says, I find it hilarious that the Madoka fandom pretty much disowned. Okay, here's the thing, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all in the chat, and I've said some of this in some people's comments because I told Geen they were off the hook. I was like, I've reacted the extras I want to react to right now, so I feel like I'm off the hook. You don't have to keep moderating for me as we go. But here's the thing. I'm the type of reactor that if I know too much about a show, I don't want to watch it. And that goes on the gambit of either people tell me like content and plot. I'm like, well, what's the point of me reacting if I know what it's about? Because I like being surprised. And if people tell me it's bad, I'm like, well, why would I waste 13 weeks of my life watching a series that has a bad reputation? So people in the comments have been like, oh yeah, Madoka Magica record. It's like, okay, but it differentiates things from the games and it does this and it's not very good. So I don't even know. I'm like, well, you've already told me I'm not going to waste my time watching it because if you tell me it's not good, why would I do 13 weeks of just watching a mediocre series that y'all don't even like? Like, no. So I don't know. I'm definitely not watching it right now because people keep telling me that it's just mid. And I'm like, and that was my thing too. When I found out there was a spinoff series, I was thinking, but Madoka Magica and Rebellion are so good. I don't know if I would like going from something that's top tier, 10 out of 10, amazing, to something that's a 7. you know, and feel the same investment in it, you know? So maybe one day I will get an itch and I'll be like, I need some more Madoka content in my life. And if that happens, then, and if enough time has passed to where it will start to feel nostalgic, then I'll be like, yeah, I'd like to go back and watch the record anime. Sure. But right now, no. And this is not going to happen. It's not my schedule. And people have kind of shit talked it enough in the comments. And I'm like, doesn't seem like it'd be my cup of tea right now. So, and as I say that, Megumi Mary's like, oh yeah, I love that anime. I'm like, yeah. So there's been too much negativity around it right now. And it would start to affect me. That's the thing. I'm very emotional when it comes to like things impacting me. So if people say that something sucks, then I will have no interest in watching it. So even if a lot of people like it, it's like those bad apples kind of ruin the batch for me. So I just need to take some time off and away from Madoka Magica before I can even consider the record anime. Santiago, do you plan to watch the trailer for the new Madoka movie or just watch it fresh when it comes out? Fresh when it comes out. I want to know nothing about that movie. You know why? Because I knew nothing about Rebellion going into this film, and it was one of the best watching experiences of my life. I loved this movie so much. It's one of my favorite anime films, I think. I loved it so much, and I went in blind, knowing nothing. And I had the best time with it. So I don't want to know anything about the new movie. Nothing. Someone asked, do I have predictions for the next movie? The only thing I know is it's called Walpurgisnacht Rising. It's all I know. I don't want to know anymore. Not a peep. The only thing I can say about it is if it's about the Walpurgisnacht, I'm like, okay, this then, because we know that Homura brings everything back to where there aren't technically witches, or you don't, your soul gem is not corrupted. You're not turning into a witch, but some other stuff is happening. So I have a feeling the Walpurgisnacht could become something that occurs in this timeline that is something different than what it was before. Sure. But, I'm glad, Pro Pinkus, you said we know nothing about the movie. Right. I'm just putting feelers out now. So if people get in the comments and they're like, hey, Romania, react to the trailer. Or, hey, Romania, here's some info about the movie. Please don't do that, because I want to go in blind and enjoy it like the rest of you all. That's always my big MO, is I want my reactions to be the experience of someone experiencing something for the first time, to kind of recreate that for you all and to add my own spin on it. So that's kind of why I don't want to know anything about the movie. So yeah, I'm not going to watch the trailer. I want to go in completely blind, see the acid trip and whatever it brings us. And if it ends up being bad, then we can just all rant about it together. Let's see. Many people don't consider it part of Madoka. Yeah, okay, what do we have here? I think the reason why they split the seasons with the last 4 episodes is that they can swap out the season with, I don't know what that one means, so we're going to avoid that comment. I will see all the new 3 movies. That'd be cool if they did release all 3 movies like in the theater before this new one came out. That would be a lot of fun. I would love to go see Rebellion on the big screen. Oh my God. I would give those of you that got to see Rebellion on the big screen, I am so jealous of you all and envious, because seeing that spectacle and seeing it all go down. And can you imagine the people that walked into Rebellion and didn't know what they were getting? They were just like, oh, this little cute movie seems great. Let's take the kiddos to go see this Madoka Magica Rebellion. Should be a fun time. And had no clue what they were getting into. That would have been insane. I can't imagine being a parent being like, look, there's magical girls. Let's see what this show's about. And then just insanity. So yeah, I would have loved to see it on the big screen. Got dog hair everywhere. So let me see here. I'm going to go back up to the chat. I missed a few in the chat here. BB's other form of the movie is how she looked as a magical girl. Yes. Yeah. So luckily there's been some people explain that. I figured out by the discussion that it was her magical girl form, but there were some people that shared some things on Patreon that helped explain that as well. I think that Madoka could have resurrected Mommy, but she was too scared at the time. She kept learning more and more about becoming a magical girl to keep holding back from her resurrection. Yeah, because she ends up coming back, doesn't she, by the end of it? Pro Pinkist says in the chat, his clear manipulation and lying by omission. He's not being intentionally evil. He's a corporation. He's literally a car salesman. Like, absolutely. He just wants to sell you that car. Don't worry about the repercussions of buying it. Just buy it, right? Um, Andrew Sanusi in the chat says, I honestly feel like Homura's world is better than Madoka's because at least everyone is genuinely happy and Madoka finally has a second chance at life without self-sacrifice. Yeah, here's the thing. At the end of episode 12, you think that Madoka's happy, that Madoka's happy with what's happened to her. She gets to save everybody. She gets to be useful. And that's all there is to it. And you kind of think in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, but she's got to suffer and do all that. And so you kind of relate to Homura being like, is that really what's best? But that's kind of our only choice at the moment. And then in Rebellion, when you find out that not only is Madoka not happy with that choice, she just did it because it was the only option, but that Homura realizes that this little mother trucker is going to try to manipulate and control her from there, then it's like, yeah, Homura makes the decision I think should have been made. It just is so bittersweet because of all the things that come with it, right? Frank Ace, is there something to the idea that the magical girl, youth and optimism, becoming witches, old and regret, growing up is scary, and we lose our view of the magic in the world? That kind of relates to Pancake's one of their questions, which is, what do you think the ultimate message of the show is? There's a lot of messages in this show. I definitely think the idea that that transition from childhood through adolescence into young adulthood for women is so ingrained in this series, and talking about how difficult it is. As a woman that grew up and went through adolescence, the idea of growing up as a woman in high school, oh my God, there's not only hormones, but girls can be catty, they can be petty, they can be manipulative, they can be deceptive, they can be self-centered, they can be lost, they can be struggling with anxiety and stress. They don't know what to do in certain situations. They have societal expectations, they have family expectations. There is so much that goes into growing up. And I feel like this show taps into that emotion of what it feels like. This is definitely a coming of age story. It's the idea of, the trials and tribulations of growing up. And then you add in this kind of power fantasy element where they can become magical girls, but there's a cost, of course. And it just makes it so relatable. And so, yeah, I feel like there is a big part of the story that talks about growing up is scary, and we do lose our view of magic in the world as we grow up as well. Yeah. And I think that there are people that will manipulate you and try to tell you, here's some expectations, and it doesn't always work out that way. I definitely had a better appreciation of the mother of Junko by the end of this series, because when she first has that talk with Madoka, I'm like, we're kind of riding in that wave of, we just saw Sayaka make some terrible decisions, and we're like, Mom, we don't have time for this like coming of age speech. We've got a girl that's like being separated from her body, and we found all this shit out, and it's all crazy. But then when you go back and you think of the mom's conversation and what she was trying to tell Madoka about growing up, making mistakes, and learning from them, and that's just part of life, the mom's speeches start to make a lot more sense and have a lot more impact once you start to realize what she's trying to tell her daughter. And I think that they did influence Monica's decision in episode 12 to do what she did, to do what she needed to do in growing up. Undecided Toy Story says, how cute is Kyubey LLC between 110? Is it cuter from Luna from Sailor Moon? Okay, here's the thing. I do think Kyubey is cuter than Luna from Sailor Moon. More evil and dastardly, 100%. But I mean, Luna's a black cat. Black cats are cute, but this thing is freaking adorable. That's why it's so manipulative. You're just like, oh, well, he's just a little Kyubey. He's just a little incubator. Once he got the nickname Incubator, though, it's like the cuteness factor kind of faded away, because you're like, now you have a duty and a job role, and this is not so cute anymore. But he was just little Kyubey walking around. Yeah, deceptively cute. Also, Undecided Toy Store says, what do they say here? There's so many in the chat. Also, would you say that Madoka Magica ranks up there with AOT or Neon Genesis? Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And then Best Girl says, does it end up in your top 5 or top 10? I would say top 10 for sure. For sure, as far as solid, great series. And someone in the comments was talking about, they literally said, to the people that think you can't make an amazing 12-episode series, here you go. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I would say that this series and Buddy Daddies are two of my favorite 12-episode series. Given's good. Don't get me wrong. But in terms of just being very wholly complete, and this one's just so deep and heavy and just symbolically just solid from end to end. There are no crumbs left by Madoka Magica. There are no crumbs. It eats, it cleans the plate, it washes the plate, it gives it back to you again and says, now eat again because you're going to find something new the second time. Like it's just that good. And so, yeah, it's definitely in the top for me, top 10, I'm sure. And now everybody's saying they like Madoka Magica record. That's the thing. I don't have time for it in my schedule right now. I want to like get some nostalgia from this movie and series first before I go back to it. So we shall see. But yes, I'm so part of the fandom. I am with you all. I'm ready to get my soul gems, not to use for myself, but to have them collectible. I'm so excited. A long 13 years. That was another reason I originally didn't want to react to the trailer because, as you all know, Yuri on Ice, Ice Adolescence is dead in the water. And so I was honestly afraid. I'm like, if I react to this trailer and something happens and they cancel the movie, will it be my fault? I was like, I don't think I can handle that. So yeah, after 13 years, I'm like, I want this movie to go out there, be out in the world, be a real thing, and then we can talk. But I still want to go in blind, you know? I want to go in blind. Oh, what did you say? No, Madoka, you saw it in theaters. Oh, brag-worthy. Absolutely brag-worthy. So yeah, exactly, Emery Warner. It's been a year since the trailer dropped. I ain't gonna watch it and jinx it for y'all. I'm not gonna do that. I like to say I'm a good luck charm, but I ain't gonna jinx that. No, no, no. Oh, no, Madoka says that the room was absolutely silent after it was over and we shambled out of the theater not knowing what to do with ourselves. Absolutely. I feel like this movie, it leaves you kind of like End of Evangelion with a sense of, what do I do with myself now? And that's kind of the best feeling when you're just left going, well, what do we do? So nice. Santiago, it's wild for me to remember how divisive this movie was when it came out. It took years for it to be as loved as the series, and it's one of my favorite movies. Yeah, I was really surprised that it was so divisive, and several people in the chat here talking about splitting the fan base. That's kind of insane to me because I love this movie so much, and I get it and what it's trying to say, but I guess if you were like, oh, wait, we're retconning part of this and changing it. I guess for me, it is so bittersweet because Homura and Madoka could potentially be rivals and fight each other at the end of Rebellion. And it's kind of hinted that that's going to come to blows. And if you liked the ending of the series where there's this little glimmer of hope of, oh, Madoka and Homura, they're going to end up together in the end, kind of like Sayaka and Madoka do too, and they'll be able to be together in their little naked galaxy, Milky Way, then yeah, I can understand why when you get to Rebellion and you see Homura make the decision to just change it all, that would be like, oh, how dare you? But oh no, it's not the fault. It's his fault because he just couldn't let sleeping dogs lie. At the end of the original series, I was like, gee, when Homura is telling Kyubey about the witches and everything, and Kyubey's like, wow, that'd be a really convenient way of gathering up energy. You don't say. Kyubey was like, when the dare officer comes and tells your class how to make meth, and there's that kid in the back jotting down notes. That was Kyubey in the end of the series being like, oh, witches, how does that work? What is that? That sounds so efficient. How do you do that? What was it that I was doing that you thought was so repulsive? And I'm like, no, Homura, don't tell him. And then she does. And then because she doesn't think there's any chance that he can change the future, and then little shit finds a way. And so here we are with Rebellion, right? Crazy. Grishnash says, I think that what we have here. I think that what happens in Rebellion is a natural, unavoidable consequence of Madoka's wish. Besides erasing the witches, she wants all magic girls happy in the end. Crazy. Megumi Mary says there's a lot of biblical elements. So the 7-year hiatus was supposed to be 7 years of tribulation from the end times. You know what? When studios and creators get into this like numerology, like we're going to release based on this, I think it's clever and genius. I'm like, I'm glad y'all took the time to plan this out, make the fandom suffer. Sure. Why not? So Krishna says that mommy regretted being alone and she gets BB. Sayaka regretted not getting to know Kyoko and she gets to. And Homura can't be happy without the physical Madoka. Yeah, it's like Homura's like, I wanted Madoka to have a chance to grow up, which I respect that. I respect that Homura was like, Madoka being the savior and saving us all 24/7 for eternity, yeah, that's great and all, but what nobody's thinking about Madoka's state of being in that moment. So her wish, as selfish as it is, gives Madoka that chance to grow up and have a second chance. And then, yeah, Sayaka gets to meet Kyoko, get that ship afloat, and Mommy gets to be, with somebody. So that's really good. Homura became the Antichrist. Yes. Uh-huh. Yep. She's the devil. She's the devil, Demonica's angel. It's Jesus and the Antichrist. It's literally it. The devil and the angel. Once somebody says here, if Kyubey has body spares, then the shape is not its true form. It's just the body it used to communicate. Yeah, so this is all a lie. Basically, this is all just a lie. Kyubey is just trying to trick us with this adorable little form. One thing I do like with that concept is that he looks really cute to girls. He's just trying to appease to them. I always think that sometimes, even though show not tell is a really effective means of narrative, sometimes it's better to let your audience imagine what something is, because we will come up with something far scarier and far more potent than anything the mangaka could probably come up with themselves. So the idea that we don't know what Kyubey actually looks like is pretty genius. So I like that a lot. Hello, Gerdem Ikinjigaldi. I said that so wrong, but hello. I feel everybody get their happy ending except for Homura, who's playing the evil part. Yeah, it's one of those, what's that phrase? It's Dark Knight. You either die or live yourself. You either die the hero or live long enough to become the villain. And that's Homura in a nutshell. Basically, she lived long enough through all those cycles and became the devil itself. Final note about the biblical references. The teacher explicitly points at the start of the movie. She does, doesn't she? I loved the teacher character. I talked about it in the reactions, but the teacher character was so much fun for me because I teach myself. And when I was a student, I had a teacher that was like that teacher. They had just gone through a divorce. And so they spent all of this time in my English class. And I'm an English major, so I'm trying to learn and be like, okay, what do I do as a teacher? And half of their class was just a therapy session so that they could talk about their divorce woes. And I was just sitting there like, are we going to get to the English? So I relate a lot to those poor kids in that class with that teacher. Relate to it so hardcore. SGM Janice says, my wish would be for Kyubey to have an evil mustache so more girls would be wary of him. A mustache twirling villain, indeed. He would be even more. I got some jams, says, looking back at it, Homura's wish was to become strong enough to protect Madoka. So does that mean Homura would always be stronger than her? I feel like Madoka would give her a run for her money, if I'm being honest. I feel like she would give her a run for her money. And Homura is happiest when she gets to act evil. Yeah, Homura gets really into the villain role at the end. Like, she gets to smile. She's having a good time with it. I definitely feel like she's bittersweet in a way as it is in her happy place there. Undecided Toy Store. Never watched Sailor Moon. Does Madoka follow a similar character arc to Asagi? Well, kind of, but not. That's a hard sell. That's a hard thing to explain because Sailor Moon is like 6 seasons and lots of things happen that do not happen in Madoka Magica. But I will say that Usagi is similar to Madoka in a lot of ways. They are very similar in lots of ways, but they're also, their trajectory in the story does branch out in different ways. So yes and no. That's my safe pageant girl answer to your question. I love Propinkus saying in the chat that they watched Madoka in theaters and had no idea what they watched. Yes, I will be honest. It took me, and then Hong is saying here, it took me 2 watches to finally form an opinion. Yeah, honestly, the first 30 minutes of Rebellion, I was sitting there going, but I was sitting there, and you all probably saw, I'm sure you all watching the movie reaction noticed the moment where it started to click. Those first 30 minutes, I was sitting there going, I'm intrigued. You have my curiosity movie, but what's going to happen? And the moment we find out that this is actually, that Kyubey is turning her into a witch, I was like, oh, you have my attention now. Now it all makes sense. Now we're here. Let's go. I love when movies do that, when they throw you in the deep end and you don't exactly know what's going on. And then you hit a turn and a click happens and you suddenly get what it is. And you're like, oh, yes, awesome, perfect. And you're all on the same page at that point. Loved it. So Andrew Sanusi, not gonna lie, the Warner Brothers intro threw me off so hard. I know, right? I'm used to seeing so many movies with the Warner Brothers intro, but not anime. So when I first watched it, I was like, is this right? Is this file correct? Was I sent the right thing? Oh, okay. You missed the first part of my biblical references discussion when I talked about the 7-year gap. Yeah, I just got to that a second ago. That's so interesting. We've all been there. Emery Warner says, yeah, from what I've read, it seems like all the people in Japan really like Rebellion, but people in the West are mixed about it. But I feel as the years go on, people have started to like it. That's interesting. And me being someone from the West that likes Rebellion, that's interesting to me. I think if I was younger, if I was a high schooler watching Rebellion, I'd probably not like it as much. But I feel like being a little bit older has definitely helped me to appreciate it a lot more. Frank Ace 22, where are the magical boys? Hey, no, men get all the stuff in anime for shonen. Let the ladies have something, please. Cube is only tapping because let's be real. Teenage boys, are they going through as many hardships and horrible hormonal things as teenage girls? No. I would argue no. No, I that was one of my favorite parts of the series is when Cube revealed why they targeted girls. And I'm like, yeah, because growing up in a society as a teenage girl sucks. And so I absolutely understand. And honestly, that was the one thing that drew me to Sailor Moon as a kid was I watched a lot of shonen. I watched Dragon Ball Z, I watched Yu Yu Hakusho, I watched Bleach and One Piece in high school. And those are all great. I liked all of those series. It was just really hard for me to connect with any female character because they were just so lacking. And that's really why I love Sailor Moon because it was mainly a primarily female cast and they were all so distinct and layered in their characters. And there were men in Sailor Moon and they were developed, but it was like they weren't the focal point. And so for me, it felt so good to watch a series and feel represented and felt like I could relate. And that's kind of what I love about Madoka Magica is it's like, yeah, this is why we're targeting girls in this series, and it gave a reason for it. So, yeah, magical boys are just gonna have to stay up at the sideline. Aren't those isekais? Aren't magical boy animes isekais? Isn't that what that is? Is that what we call that? I feel like that's what we call that. I've only watched one isekai, so I have no right to say anything. The movie that's coming out was supposed to come out in 2020, but because of studio commitments, they had to settle for the record to make the 7-year Easter egg work. Okay. Also, anything that was supposed to come out in 2020 that has suddenly been delayed, I instantly understand because of COVID and quarantine and all the restrictions on animation and everything. That all makes sense. Yeah, teenage boys have a lot of energy to siphon from. Here's the thing, Santiago. They may have a lot of energy, but do they have a lot of existential crises that they're facing in society? Do they really? Maybe they do. I'm not a guy. I don't know. Maybe they do. Usagi does the heroic sacrifice many times. So there's that. Yes, absolutely. She's very self-sacrificing. Again, yeah, I like that all the guys in the chat are like, well, why aren't boys being targeted? I'm like, you all have your own anime. Let me have something. Again, isekai are the magical boys anime, right? Or literally every other shonen. Right? Okay. What we have here in the chat. I'd be down for the first 30 minutes of Walpurgisnacht Rising just being Homura demoning it up for the cool factor. Yeah, honestly, to answer Pancake's question too with predictions about the movie, I kind of would think that as well. If I'm thinking of how the movie would start, it would literally be 30 minutes of just Homura and seeing what she's been doing this entire time and then jumping into the plot. The question would be, would Madoka and Sayaka and Kyoko and Mami and them be trying to stop Homura? They obviously aren't trying to go back. I wouldn't be surprised if this little shit in Walpurgisnacht Rising was like, hey, girls, help me stop Homura because he's being tortured. I wouldn't be surprised with that. I would not be surprised if Kyubey is like trying to earn some sympathy points and getting those girls to help him. And they've forgotten from the previous movie because Homura said their memories would fade. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Kyubey tries to do some manipulation and get the girls to help him being like, oh no, I'm the one in distress, right? I could see Kyubey doing that. Grishnosh says there are some nice Sailor Moon references in Madoka Magica. The first time Homura resets the timeline, she's below the train on a bridge that looks like the Sailor Moon. Oh, ROP. Okay, yes, nice. That is true. That's a good call. Nice observation there. Undecided toy store. My favorite magical outfits were Monica, Mammy, or Mommy, and Sayaka. Who had the best designs for me? Oh, ooh. That's a really good question. I like Kyoko's a lot. Mommy's is fine. The corset's not, it looks a little bit later hoseny for me for Mommy's. So her fashion I'm not as into. But I really like Kyoko's, like her design with the frills and the black underneath and the big giant coat jacket reminds me of a Cake song, a girl with a long jacket and a short skirt. I think that design is probably my favorite, although I really do like Monica's like angelic form. That part looks really, really good. Didn't fall in here. Are you going to watch the side stories from Madoka Magica? Nancy Plays 68. I am going to be reacting to audio drama 1 and 3 at the end of the month. They're going to be separate weeks. Audio drama 1 along with the OP and transformation from the movies, and then audio drama 3 along with the outtakes from the English dub and the parody Maguka is going to be what I'm going to be reacting to at the end of the month. So yes. There's a trans magical girl in Magia Record. Oh, that's cool. Again, people telling me all the plot and stuff is making me not watch this series. I'm like, I want to go in blind. So when people tell me stuff about them, I'm like, well, that's just going to hold that off for another, year or two. Cause I'm like, no, I don't want to know. I'm like, please don't tell me things. Spoilers. I'm like so against spoilers. In the mobile game, she does have cameos in the anime. Then the recent Precure, it had a magical boy. Very cute. The girls are all cooler than him, though. Sorry, dude. Hey, Santiago, you know what? Good for that magical girl, because how many series we got to watch where it's like 6 dudes and 1 girl, and the one girl's just there to look pretty? You know what? That's called equity. Hashtag feminism, right? Undecided toy store. Teenage girls fluctuating between hope and despair. And Cubase sees quotas and money, quotas and dollar signs. Exactly. What? We're preying on girls and with materialism? What are you talking about? Ginny Siska says the movie was officially announced in 2021 and everything else is just speculation. Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't want to get too deep into the rabbit hole with the movie because I want it to actually happen. Andrew Sanusi, I'm genuinely wondering what role the Walpurgisnacht is going to play since the movie is literally named after them. That's such a great question. And so all I know about the movie is a title, but I'm like, I don't know either, because I thought Madoka kind of solved the problem, because somebody even said they thought that the first magical girl in episode 12 that Madoka heals, a lot of people have speculated that was the Walpurgisnacht. And I was like, oh, okay. So I don't know how they would bring it back unless it's just in title alone, unless it has a new meaning, a new context. I don't know how they would do it. And it says rising in the title. So I'm like, how does that work? Is Cube going to try his nonsense again to bring back the witches like he's not supposed to be? What else can we do to him? What else can we torture him with? I don't know. The concept trailer happened shortly after the rebellion. Okay, that's addressing the chat there. I really, really love the essential. One thing I really like about anime when they have extra materials is if they connect back to the main series. And the 2 audio dramas that I've listened to do connect back to the main series in interesting ways, and they reveal some like extra tidbits. So I think that gets me excited. That's when I really like it, is when you can connect it back to it. I think that's fun. This person says in the chat, I read a theory that said that Mommy's wish was to not die alone. So as soon as she felt she was no longer alone after a conversation with Madoka, she no longer had wish armor and died. That's interesting. That is a bit of a creepy wish, to be like, I don't want to die alone, but she was dying. So I guess it makes sense in the moment why she would wish that. That makes a lot of sense. But that whole death scene in episode 3, that was the moment that I think I fell in love with this series. I literally think episode 3 was the moment, because episodes 1 and 2 were great. They were kind of like, oh, I don't know what this is. This is weird. What is this series? And I was enjoying it. But episode 3, whenever mommy dies, was the moment of, oh shit, the brick has fallen. Here we are. And you all in the chat and in the comments were like, ah, you guys were having so much fun with it. And that just genuinely got me so hyped up. I was like, yes, perfect. Love this. Anytime that the comment section's like, we've been waiting for you to get here, I was like, oh, it just makes me so excited. And that happens with any series. Anytime the people in the comments are like, we've waited for you patiently to get here. Now you're here. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the trauma. That was definitely, I think, one of my favorite moments. So I'm pretty sure somewhere Gurdam says there's a literal magical boys anime. Yes, and then Frank A says, I kid on the magical boys part. Yes. Yes, I honestly think that Puella Magi Madoka Magica, it's not that they focus on a world absent of males, it's just they focus on a world with females in it, right? There's still guys walking around in the classrooms and everything. It's just not a focus. It's like when you watch, there's one anime that's like high school boys and it's all about their adventures. There's girls there, but they're not the focal point. So I kid too. I joke as well, but I do feel happy that we had an anime that doesn't have to have a focus with a male character. It's fine. Also, something interesting is that unlike Sailor Moon, there aren't any like really big heterosexual male female ships except for Hitomi and Kamijo. That's pretty much the only one. There's a lot of Yuri in this anime, which is great. It's probably one of my first like majorly heavy Yuri series to watch. I mean, there is Yuri and Sailor Moon, but it's just one couple. Arguably, although you could argue a lot more if you wanted to with subtext. But yeah, that's kind of something I liked about it too, right? The romance was handled a lot differently. It was not the focal point in this series like I kind of expected it to be, which was fun. So what else do we have? You asked about boys and adolescents as existential crisis, but you already have the answer. You watched Evangelion. There we go. Yes, I'm glad you said that, Gurdam. Yeah, Neon Genesis Evangelion is literally our answer. That is our magical boys anime equivalent, if we want to go there. Good job. I'm glad you pointed that out. The thing about Snow Madoka, when you have in the chat there, the thing about movies coming out for a reactor that's so hard is if we are trying to react to them, we have to wait until they come to streaming. Like right now, I know that there's movies for other anime out that are not on streaming yet. And it's so frustrating because everybody's talking about them. Everyone's excited. There's a big hype. And if you're a reactor, you just have to kind of sit in your room and hold Cube and be like, okay, it'll be out someday. And then like a year from now it comes out. And I guess that does build hype up if you want to see a reactor create content around it, that does build up hype. But it can be so frustrating to sit there and wait patiently and be like, how dare. So Pro Pinkest would have given anything to not have been spoiled in episode 3. So I'm so sorry, those of you that got spoiled in episode 3. I am so sorry. That sucks so much because I was very lucky that didn't happen. I was honestly, thanks to Geen, I was lucky I didn't get spoiled for anything. I feel this is one of the few series I had zero spoilers for. And I think that's why I had so much fun with it, was because I went in blind. I didn't know what was going to happen episode to episode. And it was just like a trick or treat each week. It was so much fun. And I do feel bad when people are spoiled and they don't want to be, because I'm like, oh, I feel your pain. Megumi Mary, Homura's wish was to go back and become strong enough to protect Madoka. She just needed to redefine what protect Madoka means to her. Yeah, a lot of this series that was so fascinating and fun was the idea and the concept of the wish, and be careful what you wish for. It just might come true. And I also love the theme and message of the show, talking about like how what you do doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. So that wish that you make, it affects the people like your family, like your friends, it affects yourself. So there was a big lesson in this series to be learned of your words have importance. You need to think about not only how things you do have consequences for yourself, but the people around you. And, also how those dreams and wishes can get twisted over time, which I thought was a really cool message to be talked about in the show. Yeah, and then no, Madoka, the whole mommy death was so grotesque and like tragic, and that was a great example of show not tell, because it just shows you the bottom half of her body and you know what happened and you just see it fall and you're like, oh. So That was really, really good. Megumi Mary, the thing I loved about how magical girls are being the ones who propelled society forward. Behind every great man is a great woman. Yeah, or a great woman being transformed into a witch by a corporate greedy cube. But yeah, I agree. I loved the idea that the show had of taking all the famous like women that had suffered horrible fates and connecting that to the magical girl concept. I thought that was smart. I thought that was clever. It added like a twist to the story of how long Cube's been there and how much the incubators have been influencing time and space. I thought that was genius. I loved it. Oh, Akane, hello. Welcome to the chat. Yes. Yes. I'm glad you could be here. We still got like an hour to talk about this series, so we're good. Pro Pinkest, you may have addressed him before, but what do you think of Kyosuke? He gets a lot of hate. Really? Kyosuke gets hate? And I never understood it, to be honest. He's not perfect, but he's just a kid going through a lot. Who's hating on Kyosuke? Why are they hating on Kyosuke? Hold up. What? Let's backtrack to this comment, Pro Pinkest. What? I'm so floored that people hate on Kyosuke. He's like, what, are they mad because he had a degenerative arm injury? Like, what? He didn't have control over that. It's genetic. What? Excuse me? That's so mind-boggling to me. I like Kyosuke was fine. I had no issues with Kyosuke. I thought he was a great character. I honestly had so many expectations for his character, and it was kind of so fun to see how I was wrong about those assumptions. I thought he was gonna like, I thought he was basically gonna get better because of Sayaka's wish, and then he was gonna turn Sayaka down and be like, "No, I don't want to be with you." And that's kind of what happens, but not directly. He indirectly is like, "Oh, cool, thanks, friend." And then that's when Hitomi like announces she's gonna ask him out. But I'm like, I will say this with all honesty, Kamijo did nothing wrong. Like Kyosuke did nothing wrong. He was just there being a person. That's so insane. Well, I guess I'm gonna get down the chat to what you said, Pro Pinkus, in just a second. Frank A says the art direction for the witches and their worlds in the collage paper looks so unnerving, and I believe it was based on art movement in the early Eastern Europe and their animation. Yeah, I love the design of the witches and the cards and just how creepy they are. And it looks like, it almost looks like a ransom note, which is kind of basically Cube. It is a ransom note. He ransomed your soul to fight witches and gain energy. So the fact that all the lettering and stuff looks like a cardboard or like a cutout paper mache ransom note seems intentional. And I thought the animation style for it was so cool. It also made you immediately feel like you're transported to another world with that animation style. It was great. I loved it. Megumi Mary, I just started doing reaction content as a Patreon thing. Nice. But the new Madoka is going to be an exception. I'm going to do commentary, which is me rewatching it and giving in-depth thoughts. Yeah, that's awesome about you having a channel and a Patreon. And I honestly go support Megumi and see their content on Madoka, obviously. But I definitely think that could be an option to do with movies. I like the reaction and being able to film it, but I have thought about like going back and doing commentary over films and anime that I have seen before and see if people enjoy that. So I did like a post on about the Fallout series, just a random post of my thoughts. So I definitely think that that's a cool way to do it too, because then you kind of get to talk. Your approach there makes it a lot more immediate and in the moment, which is cool. So I definitely respect that. Awesome. No problem. I'm glad to shout I will shout out any content creators or, oh, you're a VTuber? Oh, so cool. Nice. That's awesome. I love that. I think VTubing is so incredible. And so y'all are artists. I think people that VTube, I'm so fascinated because it's literally like such an art form and there's so much intricacies with it. I'm so like major kudos to you. Mad respect for VTubing because that's like a whole thing in itself. That's so awesome. Nice. Emery Warner. I want to keep calling you Emily, but Emery Warner, Pro Pingus. Yep. At the end of the day, they're all just kids. The hate I saw for side characters like Hitomi or Madoka. Who had hate against Madoka? What is happening? Madoka and Hitomi getting okay. I see the Hitomi hate. We'll talk about that in a second. I see that, but Madoka getting hate. She's the main character. She's Jesus. What are y'all doing? Oh my god. Andrew Sanusi, I always wondered why the witches are called witches and not demons, because they felt like the personification of girls' inner demons and regrets. I feel like it's sort of a play on the idea of a big insult to a woman is to call her a witch. Like to insult a woman, calling her a witch. Like demons, to me, in my opinion, demons and are monstrous. They're monsters and they lack humanity. A witch is a human, it's just an evil human. So the idea of calling these girls witches is it's almost worse than calling them a demon, because at least like with Homura as a demon, I feel like people could be like, "Oh, it's not it's your lack of humanity, it's monstrous, but it's relatable." To call you a witch is almost personal, and it taps into a part of humanity saying that you're a bad person. Whereas a demon, calling them a demon is like saying that they're not human. But that otherness you can kind of transform a little bit, whereas being a witch, it's a little bit different. That's just my take on it, but that's a really good question to ask. I think that's kind of cool. Santiago, the Tomi hate baffled me. She's so forward, honest with Sayaka about her feelings. I agree with you, Santiago. I personally struggled with Sayaka at the start of the series. I gained an appreciation for Sayaka's character. I like her character by the end. I struggled with some of her actions at the beginning, but when you know she's a teenage girl, it makes sense. But if you told me that the fandom hates Hitomi because of how she, says she's going to take Kyosuke away from Sayaka, I get where they're coming from. I never hated Hitomi. I wanted to see more of Hitomi because I thought her character was interesting as a side character. And then when people talked about how someone made the comment that Hitomi was not selected by Kyubei to become a magical girl because she didn't have this internal suffering like the other girls did. And I'm like, oh, she's self-assured. Hitomi knows what she wants and she goes after it. So she's not a magical girl material. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. So yeah, I never got the hate that she got. I mean, I understood why somebody that's a Sayaka fan wouldn't like her, but just outright hate, I don't know. Let me see. Unwarranted hate, Kyosuke and Hitomi, get them. Pro Pinkus says that people say he's not grateful enough to Sayaka, but I'm like, what? Yeah, I agree. He didn't know that she wished for him, and he didn't have feelings for her, so he wasn't obligated to stay with her. Exactly. Yeah. That's so crazy. Now, if Sayaka had told him about the wish, and that was something else I thought was going to happen, I thought that Sayaka was going to tell him about her wish. I thought she was going to say something and it was going to become a thing and a bunch of drama. And I'm glad it didn't happen. But yeah, he didn't know about the wish. Why was it his fault? I'm like, no, that's such a good point. Yeah. They hate him because, what do you say there? They hate him because he's not really that great of a boyfriend, but he was never her boyfriend. That's the thing. He wasn't ever Sayaka's boyfriend. He was just a friend, and Sayaka wanted it to be more, but he was a guy in a love triangle in a Yuri coded show. Alex Cornejo, hello, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. Yep. And Sayaka is our bisexual queen. We'll take it. I'm gonna try not to choke on this ice. Kyubei's trying to kill me, y'all. Gotta watch out for him. Yeah, I think that's so interesting too. Because it's like Kyosuke was never her boyfriend. He was just a friend, a childhood friend. And I think she wanted to become his girlfriend, but she couldn't ever get to it. And then by the time the tragedy of it all is by the time Sayaka could tell him that she wanted to be his girlfriend, she already had found out that she literally was a body with a soul detached from it. So then it was like, well, no, that ain't gonna work. So I just feel bad for Sayaka in that moment. But yeah, the hate, nope. Oh, hi, Pancake. You're here. Yay. I've been talking about when you go back to watch this on Patreon, you will see your questions being answered. Basically. The art style of the show in general. Oh, Shaft Studio. I'm so glad I'm watching March Comes In Like a Lion and Madoka together because the animation, chef's kiss. It's so, so good. I love it so freaking much. Oh, nice. PNGs for your models. Awesome. I think the VTuber, it's just really cool. I love the whole concept of it. Oh, Akane says that people hated Madoka because she's too. What? Y'all, what do you want? She died. She died for your witches. What do you want out of Madoka? Excuse me? I I wondered if people would call Madoka a Mary Sue. She's not. Girl suffers just because she has a cutesy voice, and people find her annoying. Why are they watching? Like if they thought Madoka was annoying in the first episode, why did they stay? She doesn't change in her voice from the first episode, so why were you still there? That is just honestly what? No. I did find Hitomi funny too, pro pinkist. The homophobia gag is just I know it's been parodied to hell. It's just insane. But Frank Ace says, have a few drinks and rewatch the Eva rebuilds, do a fun commentary. I mean, could. Don't threaten me with a good time. So the fact Hitomi, what does it say here? The fact that Hitomi had a crush on Homura in the PS game. Yes, I love that Hitomi had a crush on Homura, and Homura was like, see, this would have solved all our problems. If we could have had a love triangle between Hitomi, Madoka, and Homura, we could have gotten rid of Kyubey and all the witches. We could have saved the world. Wouldn't have needed rebellion. We missed out. We missed out on an opportunity. Absolutely. The more I rewatch, the more I like Sayaka. Yes, I agree. Sayaka took a long time for me to warm up to. And then by the time we got to where shit went down with her character, I really started to like her. And then, of course, that's how this series goes. It makes you really fall in love with a character, and then it just like takes them out. I'm like, no. So I agree. I do like Sayaka a lot more in hindsight than I did at the beginning. Where are you, Senpai? For the first 9 episodes, Madoka is a damsel in distress without much personality. Well, here's my thing. I think she did have personality. I didn't mind so much that Madoka wasn't doing anything with the witches, because for the first 9 episodes, I was like, I don't want her to become a magical girl, because I'm like, she's going to become a witch or something bad's going to happen to her, and then she can't take it back. They tell you from the beginning that she can't become a magical girl or something bad's going to happen. And I'm like, so I didn't want her to become a magical girl. So I thought her hanging out with the others during their missions wasn't a bad thing. It didn't mean, and to say she didn't have personality, she was suffering like all of those episodes being like, my friends are doing these things that are putting them in danger and I can't do anything. She was the definition of someone caught in a crossfire in a paradox that was just stuck. Like, and that personification I thought was so well done. And then in episode 10, you figure out what the deal is. But to say she's a Mary Sue, I think I'm like, I don't know if you watched the show clear enough. You might go back and rewatch it, because I would disagree respectfully, respectfully, with all due respect. Jackie, I focused a lot on Sayaka while rewatching and really grew to love her. Yeah, I agree. Megumi Mary says the problems people have with Madoka only exist in the timeline when she's not a magical girl, only as if she's meant to be one. Again, I think, though, that it works for her character, because up until episode 10 and 11, when you find out there could be a way for her to become a magical girl and still live and not become a witch, I didn't want her to become a magical girl. I'm like, they told us this whole time how bad that is and why that's not good. Why would you want her to become one? And then at the end, when you figure out how she can subvert it and make it work to her advantage, then I'm like, okay, cool, nice. And then, it says here, regarding the witch conversation, in Japanese, magical girl is Maho Shoujo, while witch is Majo. So it was supposed to be a foreshadow of them turning into witches. Nice, thank you. Translation for the win. Yay, love that. Emery Warner says, I definitely remember seeing people call Madoka a crybaby. I'm always like, didn't her friend like die? Yes. I'm like, you heartless wenches. Have you never had a friend die or a family member? Grief? Does grief mean nothing to you? She's Jesus. Stop. Alien 9. Okay, it's OVA. Cool. It was Madoka before Madoka. I'm gonna have to write that one down, Frank, and put that on the list of things to look into. Madoka. Money Gambler. Shippers go crazy every time their favorite character chooses someone else, no matter what anime. Oh, Tale as old as time, Money Gambler. I agree. Like, anytime you develop a ship with a character and it's like your OTP, you're like, this is my one true ship, my one true pairing, and then it falls apart or changes. Yeah, you get mad about it. I have come to the coping mechanism of I just multi-ship, and then I can't be disappointed. I can't be disappointed if I have a bunch of ships on reserve. I'll dock one boat in the harbor. I'll move along to the next boat. and then we'll just set sail again. I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like that's the way to go. That's the way that we win. That's how we come out on top. He's just kind of oblivious, but that's normal. Yeah, I was like, I never got the Kyosuke hate. That's so weird. And yeah, he was going through stuff with his health problems. If I was worried about my future as a violinist and having an injury, and I think the last thing I'd be focused on as a teenage boy whose entire life may be altered, I think the last thing I'd be thinking about is my childhood friend and if I want to bone them or not. So yeah, crazy. Grishnash, the only character whose actions I 100% support are Kyoko's. I can understand everyone else's decisions, but there aren't any of hers I can criticize. Kyoko was great. I liked her character a lot. And she's, again, another one that once you find out her whole family's story, you empathize with her so much. I was like, oh, that's so good. Like, I loved Kyoko understanding the wish that she made, the reason that she made the wish. It explains her decisions. It explains why she's the certain way with Homura and the others. It was just, yeah, her character's great all around. Yeah, this Madoka slander. How dare? How dare? Yeah, if Homura hears about us, y'all, slandering her personal Jesus, it's over. She's going to curse us all. And this is what the kids call Doomed Yuri. Doomed Yuri's last tour. Guys, this is going to affect the tour. Stop. It's going to affect the tour. We need to stop it. No. Pancake 178. Outside of the two obvious main ships, what do you think about the other combinations in the group? I mean, obviously Madoka and Homura, clearly OTP. I really can't ship Madoka with anybody else. For me, I think Madoka and Homura, like they're a perfect ship for so many reasons. Homura and Hitomi's interesting, but again, I like Homura and Madoka. Kyoko and Sayaka, I was like, I realized all too late that ship. I was like, oh, why did I not realize its potential and amazingness until the very end? I was like, no. I like Mommy and Nagisa. I like them as a ship. I always felt bad for Mommy because I wanted her to be shipped with somebody. And in the main series, I just couldn't find anybody to ship her with. Now, I will say, I've listened to audio drama number 3. That reaction is going to come out at the end of the month, early August for YouTube. There is a ship of Mommy and another character now that I was like, oh, I didn't see this coming. And I kind of like it now. So I don't want to spoil that for anybody that hasn't, watched the audio dramas. So get ready for that. But I did genuinely feel bad for Mommy because she didn't have a partner in Madoka. And then in Rebellion, when she gets Nagisa, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I like the whole cheese factor connecting to her mom, to Nagisa's mom and all that. I think that's so cool. It makes for a nice ship. And I just like shipping Kyubey and Pain. So I like shipping them together. They're a lot of fun. The Yuri girls' last tour. Andrew Sanusi says, I respect Kyoko a lot as a character. She's level-headed and mentally strong despite having such a messed up backstory. Yeah, her backstory is so messed up. I was like, oh my God. And for her, like, it helping to explain why she eats so much, helping to explain like her kind of being a lone wolf and not wanting to get close to people, and then her whole sacrifice for Sayaka. I was so impressed in this series how they took each girl and made them have such a great, well-rounded character development. It was just, it's everything I want. I'm a character-driven person when I watch shows, so this gave me the buffet that I needed. I love it. Funny Kyoko feels like the most stable girl in the group. She honestly kind of does. And that's so funny because at the beginning, I kind of joked that she was like Bakugo from My Hero Academia, which that's a whole different discussion. But I was kind of like, I expected Kyoko to be a hothead that I expected her to be a hothead that was going to make brash decisions and not be a thinker. And she completely subverted my expectation, which is really great. Did you know, Megumi Mary says, did you know the empty chairs are actually supposed to represent the magical girls who have died lingering around and watching the events unfold? Someone in the comments said that, I think around the time I was finishing up the series. And I was like, that kind of makes sense. But then somebody else in the Discord was like, no, it's just Shaft liking chairs. I think either one is good. One has obviously more symbolic significance, but otherwise I love Shaft just messing around and being trolls. So I'm good with any other explanation. Speaking of alternative ships, I always low-key shipped Homura and Kyoko. Oh, because they're so competent together. Yeah, I kind of was hoping, Santiago, that I really wanted, when we were getting around episode 9, right before the whole reveal with Homura and the time skip and everything, I was kind of wanting Homura and Kyoko to like get together and try to stop the Walpurgisnacht. I wanted them to get together because I'm like, maybe they could do something. Maybe they could stop it. And then we'd go a whole new direction with the show. And then the show decided to go a whole new direction and proved why that was a bad idea. But yeah, I could have seen Kyoko going as far as a magical girl if she didn't sacrifice herself. Yeah, I agree. And I almost wondered in the series if that was a reason why the creator got rid of Kyoko because she was so competent. It was kind of like a way to write her out of the final act, being like, "Ooh, she could actually do some damage. Let's get rid of her." And I was like, "No!" So, but that would make sense. Frank Ace 22 says the loudest comments come from people who just casually watch and went into a little depth into they don't, and they don't like feeling dumb and lash out. They want the easiest to digest. And you know what? If somebody doesn't like this show because it does get weird and go into a very deep and intense place, I get that. It's always frustrating when people lash out just because they don't. I'm like, if you don't understand it and you don't like it, then you don't have to comment. It's like the phrase that your parents teach you, be like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I feel a bit hypocritical saying that because I hate it. And you don't find any investment in the show, then don't speak up. A lot of times, if I critique something, it's because I have an investment in it and I want to like support it, but I also want to say my opinions about it. So it's, yeah, but I feel like the hatred towards a character just because it didn't go the way that you thought it would needs to have something else behind it. But yeah, cordial Kiana, hello. I just thought that a magical girl wished that no one would be deprived of a comfy chair. That's a great reason. Yes. One girl's magical wish was, I just want everybody to be comfortable. Wish for that. And chairs for everyone. Right? Nice. Kyoko and Homura are such bros. I do love their dynamic so much. I loved Kyoko and Homura working together. I thought it was just such a fun time to see because these characters kind of come across at the start of the series like you don't think they're going to work well together. And then they just get so like caught up in everything and they are competent that you're like, oh, cool. And then everything goes down and you all know what happens. Hello, Wiljo. Glad you could check in. Homura and Madoka are a cosmic level OTP. They are fated by the universe. Yes, absolutely. I'm a sucker for an angel and demon motif. You give me an angel and demon motif in a series, I will be on it like glue. I will be fangirling over it. I will be simping for it. I will be constructing sculptures in its honor. You give me an angel and demon motif and I'm on board it. I'm on the ship like nothing flat. The other mommy ship. Yes. When we get to audio drama 3, yes, Pancake, that ship. Mwah, did not see it coming, but I'm here for it. Oh, I'm glad the other mommy ship is your OTP. I don't want to spoil it for people in the chat, but yeah, watch the audio drama number 3. It is fantastic. Emery Warner says, feel like Mommy and Nagisa are like a mother-daughter duo. Yeah, I definitely could see that. Especially after Pancake shared in the Discord the information about Nagisa's background and the whole, which is tragic and horribly terrifying. The idea of Mommy being the cheese, I could definitely see if you wanted to platonically ship them as like a mom-daughter duo. I'm all for that. I can agree with that as well. Yep. And I'm just glad they're not alone anymore. That's the main thing, right? The worst ship is a character with loneliness. Kyubey times pain. They're literally mommy and baby. Yes. Mommy is best girl. Mommy was such an interesting and layered character in this series. I honestly, when she died in episode 3, I was really worried because I was like, I was starting to like Mommy's character. And then suddenly she was dead. And I'm like, that's it? We don't get anything else with her. And I thought that the series would never show her again. I was like, oh, they just killed her off and that's it. That's all we get from her. Oh, no way. But then I really am glad the series found a way to weave her into the story, either symbolically as somebody that was influencing Sayaka or Homura or Kyoko, or weaved her into the story through flashbacks or through rebellion. I thought that was really cool. So, oh, bye, Black Cat. Thank you for joining. Thank you. I'm going to check up here. It was an animated storyboard of ideas shown exclusively on the Monogatari event. Interesting. Yep. Okay. Who knows? All the girls need a hug, and Kyubey needs to meet a meat grinder. Yes, Kyubey looks like he's about to speak into the camera and talk to you all, but I agree. Yeah, Kyubey needs to stay away from girls. A restraining order by Homura has been placed upon him. He is no longer welcome in this chat. And then he just slowly fades out. Now we're going to keep him up here. Okay, a lot of you are talking about different events. I'm not going to read too much into that because I don't want spoilers. Frank says, I love Shaft, and if you count their famous head tilt, it can make a drinking game. Oh my God, could you imagine? I need to come up with a post of the Madoka Magica drinking game. If you took a drink every time someone tilted their head, oh, that'd be a thing. If you took a shot every time Homura flipped her hair, then by episode 10's end, you'd be in the hospital. If you took a drink every time Kyubei's creepy eyes came into frame, you would in fact have alcohol poisoning. So there is such a terrible Madoka Magica drinking game. If you can make a whole thing of it, like talking about the witches' layers, about all of it. Oh my God, that would be absolutely insane. Frank, you have the right idea. We need to have this drinking game. Yes. Oh, Grishnash, the chairs are us, the audience watching. I kind of thought that too. I felt like it was sort of a little key in that the audience is like a fly on the wall for this scene. Pancake says a lot of magical girls shows try to be more darker after Madoka came out, but they went overboard and missed what the point of those darker aspects are, and they didn't reach the level that Madoka did. That's the thing. This show does kind of feel like lightning in a bottle. I feel like I could totally see a lot of series trying to replicate the mood that it has. But here's the thing. It's all in the writing. It's in the writing. It's in the symbolism. It's in the themes. It's in so much. And I really, really love that about it, that it's not trying to be dark just to be dark. There is a reason behind it, and there's a theme and a message. And that's the best part of when shows get dark, is when there's a reason for it. So yeah, I can totally see that. And then pop off for the angel and demon couples. Yes. A shot for every time Kyubei lies or is manipulative. Well, we would be in the hospital. Alcohol poisoning all around. Megumi Mary says, I remember reading a Neko Tofu Doujin of Homura, realizing Kyoko is more agreeable while planning for the walrus witch. That's nice. Great. And every time Homura says Madoka as well as a shot, oh, we'd be dead. We would literally be dead. And you know what's funny about that is we talk about how there were all these repetitive elements in the show, and sometimes the show kind of becomes a parody of itself, or other shows, not Madoka, but sometimes other shows, when they have repetitive elements, it becomes like a parody of itself. Madoka never feels like that. Like, there were a lot of repetitive elements, but it still made it work and feel fresh and feel good. So nice. I love that. Ginny Siska says the genre was already dark before Madoka, but if there were to look at afterwards, people took wrong things from it and turned the genre edgy. Yeah, it's like, it's just sad that ended up happening. The difference of writing and directing makes a difference. Yes. So a lot of you are talking about the darkness and goriness of the show. We'll see. Pancake, how does Kyubei rank among your favorite villains? Oh, good question. I was going to say, there's really no point in doing a character tier for this series, because, I mean, if we were going to do a character tier, Homura and Madoka would be like S tier for me, because they're the OTP of etherealness, so they need to be at the S tier. I would say all of the other magical girls, unless they're ones I don't know of, would be an A tier. Even Sayaka, I like her character a lot by the end of it. And then I would say that we would just skip B and C tier and go straight to D, and this little monstrosity would be in D tier. I think it's D for despair, because that's what Kyubei is all about. Right? There we go. It is the perfect balance of hope and despair. Lyndon, look, we've been talking about your beautiful Kyubei that has greeted us. The D for despair, that is Kyubei, and my lip gloss is going to get on his ears. Quit taking my soul. I do love to hate him. I love to loathe. My phrase is I love to loathe, and Kyubei is definitely one of them. So thank you, Lyndon. Lyndon is to thank for getting me this beautiful Kyubei plush. So please give Lyndon a shout out in the chat, because they deserve it. What do you think? Oh my God! Shut up! Right now, Lyndon, I'm not answering that question. How dare you? How dare you? Joking. I'm joking. We're not answering. We don't talk about that character in this chat, Lyndon. Wrong chat, wrong story. The element of repetitions in Madoka reminds me of another directing like Utina or Eva. Yes, I will say watching Utina right now, I definitely see those elements and I agree with you 100%. Same with Evangelion. So they're all like, I think it's perfect that Revolutionary Girl Utina is replacing Madoka because of those elements. I think it's going to be fun to transition from this series into that and talk about it. That's going to be a lot of fun. Emery Warner, which is your favorite witch in the series? That's not Madoka or them. Honestly, I kind of like I like Charlotte's design and the whole like sweets because I'm a big Alice in Wonderland fan. So Nagisa and Charlotte was really cool. But I also really Sayaka's witch form, I'm kind of obsessed with. I'm really obsessed with Sayaka and Homura's witches forms. Homalili and then the witch form Octavia. I love the mermaid theme. I love the orchestra theme. I love the tying of music. I like a theme. So you get Sayaka and you tie in music and mermaids. It's just a recipe for how could you not like it? And then Homalili in Rebellion, I don't even know where you start, but there are so many layers to that witch. And just like Homura, so many layers. And there's so many elements of it. I'm kind of amazed by it. I wanted to pull up really quick and go over with y'all because they shared this in the Discord that all of the children of Fake Town, there's like 14 different children of Fake Town. And then the 15th one, the mystery one, is Love. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, show, how dare you? But I didn't even go through all these. Like, there's so many different ones. It's just the layers and details in this series are incredible. They're just mind blowing. I definitely love them. So what else do we have on here? Gurdon says, talking about mannerisms and linking. I'm gonna be nerdy with Utina starting next week and starting now on Patreon. I'm nerdy as hell with it. I'm having so much fun with it. It's great. Andrew, I agree. Octavia is such a favorite witch. Such a great design. And then I'm glad that we realized it was a mermaid during that episode because I was like, what is this upper body? It's like a knight and then a mermaid tail. Frank Ace 22 in the chat says, in a series that have receptive moments and scenes like transformations to save money and time, in Madoka, they are used to subvert and show in different contexts and change meanings. Yeah. And honestly, what was really cool is that the transformation sequences, they kind of change a little bit throughout, which was a lot of fun. I thought that was a really cool, like little element to have in the series, especially when it's done on repetition. Pancake, did you read the lyrics, the opening and ending again? Do you have any interpretation on it? Most people see the songs from Homura's perspective. I feel like I've talked about the OP and ED throughout the reactions and seeing it, but I definitely know after episode 10, seeing the lyrics from Homura's perspective makes a lot more sense, especially knowing that Homura has been going back and forth through time trying to save Madoka over and over and over again. So yeah. The Clara dolls, Homalili's familiars. Yes, they're so cool. All of them. I love how even Homalili's name is calling her gay because Lily means Yuri. Oh, this show is clever. I like that. I like that a lot. I like all the little subtle nods and things that this show had. That was really, really cool. Oh no. Yep. Akane, that's okay. Definitely come back and watch the rest of it later. I'm glad you were able to stop in. I appreciate it. I did have a couple comments from the movie thing that was there that I thought were pretty cool. Someone, user 1K2Q, said that Madoka's name could be written down with the kanji meaning circle or cycle. So it ties back to them being calling her the law of the cycle without realizing it's Madoka. So I'm like, that's so cool. And yes, the welcome to cinema line in the opening of the movie. So good. Oh, and then Gurdum says there's a video on YouTube called an AMV called Evangelion, a story that repeats. Yes, I have seen that one actually. I've seen that AMV. It's a fun time. What did you think about Madoka Muga Pancake? Well, to be fair, here's the thing about that one. I was talking at the beginning of the live stream about it, but it's not my style of humor. I felt like an outsider watching. I felt like, because I grew up around the early 2000s with albino black sheep and some of the Flash animations that I'm sure if I showed them to you now, I'd be like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And you would watch it and be like, girl, what's wrong with you? And that's kind of how I felt with Maguka, was that I could see why people would think this is like culture bending. But for me, the funniest parts to me were Kyubey with the 2010s party rock shades, the rap at the end. It made the inner English teacher in me want to crawl into a rock and die. Because all these words kept being misspelled. And I was like, it made me want to wish upon Kyubey to correct the grammar in the video. But I felt so old watching it because I was like, oh my God, I can't. I was like, I need this. I need to correct the grammar. I need to go and leave them a comment, some feedback, some instructor feedback. But yes, otherwise, yes, I could see why people really, really like it. Andrew Sanusi, what was your thoughts seeing the ending Magica after episode 3 for the first time? Oh, yeah. So there's I am just amazed at how much the fandom, the studio goes so hardcore to make dark jokes about mommy's death. It is kind of shocking to me how much, like, when people are sharing in the Discord the sleeping bags that were just mommy's, like the sleeping bag of Nagisa coming up and eating your head like mommy. I was like, what? And then like the idea that the recap movie, the tips were mommy and like you detached her head. I was like, what? That is the mommy flash drive. Pro Pincus. Yes, I was just kind of just flabbergasted. I was like, the studio is making this such a dark, dark joke. And I kind of live for it. And I'm like, that's amazing. But also I'm like, is this okay? Like, I was so fascinated by it. Mm-hmm. I really, really, yeah. Episode 3 was the moment that I was like, I'm gonna love this series. It's great. Madoka Magica abridged. Yes, I did talk about in the reactions that I did for the first and third audio drama with all the extras. I am gonna keep tabs of some extra Madoka content, like the manga, like the different abridged things, like the video, such as the abridged series. The Madoka Magica in 30 seconds. Those are definitely ones that, like, if I do a Maydoka this coming May, I would like to explore as well. That would be a lot of fun. To be able to come back and do those, which would be great. Yeah, the Madoka faces. I love that they used the worst animation to make those. Like, they're all the worst faces from the background of the animation. That part was really funny to me. I liked it. A USB pen drive. Yeah. Oh my God. The decapitation jokes in this series are just insane. Oh, people like to spoil mommy's death with the dumb. Yeah. See, here's the thing. That's why I was really glad that Geen actually, I watched ahead. Oh, I get it now. Thank you, Gurdem. See what you did there. Yeah. I'm really glad that Geen was moderating and kept me from reading those because that's smart. That's smart. You're clever. Cube gives you a soul stealing pause of approval from Cube. Goes out to you, Lyndon. Oh my God, in the chat. Ginny says, I love the magical girl mangaka Arina Tanemura. Acknowledged that Madoka Magica with multiple drawings of the girls. But too bad the Sailor Moon creator never did. I know. I would be curious to know what the creator of Sailor Moon thought of this series. I'm sure they'd be like, okay. I feel like since they worked on Utina, they'd probably be like, yeah, it's fine. Make a dark version of this. I just can't believe. Oh, and there's Kaoru headless zip. Alex Cornejo. Oh my God. I want that. I want a mommy and Kaoru zip drive to take to work with me. We're decapitation pals right now. Cheers. Ridiculous. I also liked from Rebellion the idea that Homura's her soul gem becomes like the queen chess piece. I love the idea of her becoming like the queen in chess, because the queen in chess can move anywhere, right? I love the idea. Alex, you're in the chat. You're getting there. I love the idea of Homura's soul gem becoming the chess piece, and it's the queen that can move anywhere, and then Madoka is like the king in chess that is omnipotent but is very limited in its movements. So I like the symbolism between that. That was really, really cool. Pro Pincus says, never get over the fact that if Mommy's soul gem had been literally anywhere else in her body, she would have survived. Yep, that's the big what if scenario, right? Although seeing in episode 10 the timeline where mommy like literally kills all of them, I'm kind of glad that we didn't have to go through that timeline in the OG one. Mm-mm. Oh wow, the joke that BB is this cheese, huh? Yeah, mommy regrowing her head. Oh my god, the also Hitomi in Rebellion when she gets decapitated, like her head grows back, and then Sayaka's holding that head. I'm like, did Isayama watch this and then think, yeah, oh, I know what I'm going to do now? I feel like Isayama was in a slump, didn't know what to do, watched Rebellion, saw that moment with Hitomi, and was like, I got it now. I figured it out. I've cracked the code. It's so creepy. Geen, hey, you're here. Everyone, Geen, give a shout out to Geen, who was the moderator for this series. Yes, give them a shout out. I'm so glad that they were the moderator. The goopy Hitomi was amazing. Hi. Thank you for moderating. Really appreciate it. That helped me get through the series without spoilers, and I will be forever grateful. So thank you so much. I'm so excited that this series I was able to enjoy and watch and get through spoiler free. So exciting. Grishnash says that it becomes the queen after being pawn-like. Yes, because that's what happens in chess. You get promoted to queen. Such a good commentary. I love it. Frank Ace says, if I remember correctly, Sailor Moon's mangaka in an interview said she didn't like the idea of making a magical girl series dark and it wasn't for her. You know what? I kind of can totally see that with Sailor Moon's creator. It feels very much like Tezuka and Disney, because I think there was like an article where Tezuka was like being praised by Walt Disney because he's like, I could never make something like this that you've done. I'm like, that's a cool like little comparison there. Oh, yes. I'm so excited that I wasn't spoiled from the series. Geen worked hard. Geen worked hard and had to read all those comments y'all put down and made sure I wasn't spoiled. So Geen was definitely pulling an overdrive on this series, which was really exciting. Yeah, I just don't like the idea of seeing mommy with her head regrowing. It's just a creepy imagery that, you know what, we could do without. The Tomy one in the dream sequence was creepy enough. I don't know if I want to go there with the other ones. So we need to get you on another dark psychological thriller. Here's the thing, Money Gambler. I am really super glad that I watched Madoka Magica. As of right now, as far as dark psychological thrillers, other than Berserk, I'm not sure what else I'm watching that's going to be on the same caliber as this series, but I definitely have some down the road that I've been recommended that when I get through some of these larger series, yeah, I'm like, I've gotten through Monster, I've gotten through Madoka, I'm in Berserk. I'm like, I'm gonna get through a couple of these dark series before we go back to some more dark series. So, interesting. And yeah, Tezuka was a big fan of Disney as well. I didn't realize they were bros until I was starting to look at Pluto and Monster and Unico. But that's so true. Let's see here. My crystal painting. Another question. What were some of your favorite moments in the series and or movie? Oh, as far as the series goes, some of the favorite moments from it, I would say the second half of Rebellion is incredible. The second half of Rebellion, I could pick out probably 20 moments from that alone. The idea of Homura when she rises up and tells Kyubey to shut up and becomes the skull motif. That part I was like, oh shit, Kyubey is done for. That part got me whenever she like rose up and just screamed to shut up at Kyubey. Linkin Park was blasting like in the background. It's like, I think that Geen, to go with your comment on there, I think some of my favorite moments are, which is again, bye Andrew, thank you for joining, is the idea of Madoka rising up as an angel and a savior and Homura rising up as a witch and a devil. Like the duality of those two moments, I think from the series are my favorites as well. So I would definitely say those would be my favorites. And then probably aside from that, the entire scene where they find out that Sayaka and her soul are separated. And if you go too far, the soul like just collapses or the body collapses. That part was such a great reveal. That part was great. So yeah, we've got about 7 minutes left in the chat. So are there other questions that you all have about do not throw souls. Yes, you don't throw souls. Absolutely. I love Rebellion so much. I'm so glad I had time to like sit down with it and discuss it in more detail. And yeah, the Sayaka moment with the soul gem on the truck, such a because you kind of guess it. You kind of guess throughout the series at that point. You're like, okay, I think that if she's separated from the soul gem, something bad's gonna happen. But the confirmation of it is so satisfying. And that's really honestly what the series is. It's very satisfying. It not only lets you think up theories that some of them end up being correct and the show kind of rewards you for it, but it also takes some of the theories that you thought you had right and then changes just a little bit about it to make it come out in this really cool way. So I'm so in love with this series. It's great. But Monica's mother, take chances. And that was what got me in that episode, Lyndon, was that her mom, she gives good advice, just not for soul gems and chucking your friend's soul across the truck. Context, location. Geen, what moment do you think made you the most emotional? Oh man. I would definitely think that when you realize when it all comes down, well, for one thing, Sayaka becoming a witch. And the confirmation of that was really emotional. Kyoko's family, I would say that's one. Kyoko's family backstory is two. That whole backstory is insane. And definitely emotional. 3 would be Mommy's death in episode 3 because you're like, huh. But it's like it's almost too soon for you to get too crazy emotional about it. And then I would say episode 10. Episode 10 gutted me because at that point you realize what Homura's time travel powers are, but then you also realize the price that she's paid and how this has led to be what's been going on. What does this mean? No, Madoka used some curse words. So it like made me review your comment. And then I would also say that the moment in episode 10, you realize that Madoka has to become a magical girl, but then you don't want her to become a magical girl. So that part was really emotional too. And then I think the ending of both the series and the movie is so powerful for different reasons that it makes you want to cry because it's so bittersweet. You want these two characters to be together. And in both scenarios, they kind of can't be. And it's doomed Yuri and it makes you so freaking sad, right? Yes. So what else do we have on here? The fact they're called soul gems. Yep, it's right there. And because you think in an anime, it's soul gems, it's metaphorical, and then you're like, nope, it's pretty literal. And the way Homura was following Junko's advice. Mm-hmm. The Mommy Homura fight in Rebellion. Oh my God. The Mommy and Homura fight in Rebellion. I didn't have much to say about it because what can you say about it? It's really freaking good. And the animation and choreography is stunning. I was like, what else do you want me to say about it other than it's just peak. It's great. The mom was thinking of realistic advice when her daughter was full on falling into the supernatural. Yes, that's an exact description of what was happening. Pancake178 says the opening of the recap movie shows more moments of Madoka and her family. It makes the fact they forgot her at the end hit harder. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that I would say the part in episode 12 where the mom doesn't remember her daughter and is talking to Homura. That moment, I think, almost made me cry because I was like, no, because the whole point is that you wanted to see Madoka grow up and be with her family. And she made decisions to save not only her family, but all the other magical girls. And the fact that Homura remembers her, but her mom doesn't, it's gutting. It's so sad. And you're just sitting there like, oh, it's a gut punch. Yep. And Mommy's death is so emotional because of Sayaka crying and yelling at Homura. That part was breaking too. And I always thought that it was so heartbreaking how Sayaka was very much against Homura from the start, which reasons, but you don't know those reasons fully until episode 10. But yeah, it's just so horrible because it's like you as the audience member want to shout out all these ways to solve the problem. And it's not possible. Mm-hmm. I do feel bad for Monica's mom too. It's like, what did all the cheers mean? We talked about that in the chat, Lyndon. I honestly thought it was For me, it was Shaft being Shaft and being like, here's some random things we can do. I personally, throughout the series, thought that it was maybe signifying us being present as the audience for the series, but we've talked in the chat about some other reasons for it. But I like it as a stylistic choice, right? We need more of Madoka being a big sis in movie 4. I agree. I definitely think that now that Homura has changed the timeline and made it to where Madoka has a chance to grow up again, I would love to see more home life with Madoka, with Junko. I would love to see more with the dad and the brother. I would love to see more moments of them, especially what would be very interesting would be because Madoka, if she remembers in the new movie what was happening between her and Homura, and she talks to her mom about it, and then maybe the mom talks to Homura about it. I mean, there's so much potential that's kind of what I'm really excited about with the movie is seeing what ends up happening. How are they going to make this crazier? How are they going to subvert this? Are they going to go? I hope that they don't try. I hope that they don't try to go back and make Homura not a devil because I like the angel and devil motif and I think they need it in order for this little mofo to not attack our magical girls. But I don't know what they're going to end up doing. But I would like more at the Madoka family for sure. And plus, yeah, there's so much to look forward to. Even if you're not somebody that, even if you don't care about the plot of the new movie, the music, the animation, I'm just excited for the animation. I'm just excited for the animation. Oh, like anytime this is the first time in my chat, y'all, that they've made me review comments because usually people aren't violent in the chat. And this is the second comment now that people have been talking about violence in the chat's like, are you sure you want people to read this? I'm like, oh, it's about Kyubey. It's fine. It's fine. We can have this. Yeah. Despite how much she's accepted her fate. You know what, Lyndon? I talked about this earlier before you joined the chat, but I don't want to destroy this Kyubey because destroying him and killing him would be far too easy for him, right? It's death is easy, living is harder. So I would instead rather Kyubey sit up on that shelf over there during the reactions and guard us from the curses that could encounter the room. So he's just going to sit there forever and be there watching over us and making sure that no curses enter the room. That's his life of suffering. He has no choice. So death would be a mercy. Yes, exactly. Inquisitor Craig, hello. I don't know how much of this is a joke, but in the production notes of the movie, it said something like, well, maybe Homura should have gotten Kyubey to a Law of Cycles peace treaty, which I find hilarious. Yeah, Kyubey, I love the concept of Homura allowing Kyubey to feel pain after she changes the timeline. I'm like, I could strangle him from time to time. You know, he's kind of like a stress relief a little bit. So if I get to a point in a series where I need to just like grab a stress ball, I'll just be watching a random show from now on and you all will see me in the discussion, like just squeezing this out of stress relief. And then people in the comments will be like, why are you squeezing that random goat cat? And I'll be like, go watch Puella Magi Madoka Magica and you will be able to know why I'm strangling him the way that I am. Yes, I do appreciate that he's on the shelf there. And then Madara, who is kind of like the, without spoiling, nice equivalent to Kyubey for Natsume Jujincho, is over there. So it's fun. Yes, don't worry about it. Don't ask questions. You don't need to know. I think that Madoka would disapprove of me destroying him as well. And who am I to question Madoka, right? There's green Kyubeys. There was a moment in Rebellion. I talked about this on the Discord channel. There's a moment in Rebellion where the glass breaks, the rainbow breaks, and you look up and you see, not only, we talked about this in the Discord channel, the idea that there were like Kyubey satellites with his little eye floating around is absolutely creepy as all get out. But there is a shot where Kyubey is like looking down at Homura and them from the top of the dome and he's green and it's just so creepy. I'm like, no, thank you. Yes. That was another thing too, Megumi. The idea that in the movie, Kyubey doesn't talk until like halfway through when shit starts going down. I'm like, yes. That also helped like get you in a mindset of, oh, something weird's going on. Kyubey's not talking and Kyubey loves to talk. So there's something behind that. Yeah. There's always a sinister cat behind my reactions. It's just gonna sit there and watch us. Yeah, there's two sinister cat beings watching over me the entire time. You know, why not? Why not, Lemonade? No, yep, just Q sitting here Garden over. All right. So, as we're rounding out about this, there's, let's say, Propinga says, I read a fanfic once that explored the concept of an abnormal cube. Oh, you know what? I would honestly read a fanfic that talked about an abnormal cube. Like, if they're trying to redeem cube, can we? Is that possible? I want to read the abnormal cube fanfic where there's like a good cube in the universe, one that's not a used car salesman. I would be all for that. So I'm really excited for the other Madoka content to come out later this month and in early August on YouTube. I'm also really excited about Revolutionary Girl Utina. The first episode's up on Patreon. The episode's going to come out on YouTube starting next Sunday. I'm super excited about that series. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've been having a lot of fun with it so far. And it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about as well. I will say I'm going to have moderators checking the comments. So I know that series is crazy, but we'll just get to it and be able to, yes, we did talk about that in the chat, Megumi Mary, that Cube is possibly going to be able to empathize and understand emotions now that Homura is rewritten time. So I got time for maybe like one or two more questions if you all have it before we round out this chat. It's been so much fun talking about Madoka Magica with you. I feel like I could talk about this series for hours. I feel like I could talk about it for hours. It's just that good. This is honestly, I feel like I just started the series 13 weeks ago. Oh my God. I am so glad that this series won the poll. I am so glad I've watched it. And I'm so glad that now we can talk about it just in other shows. Because here's the thing. I always find ways to compare series that I've watched on my channels in the shows that I watch. Like you all have seen me talk about other series with this series. So I'm excited now that Madoka Magica has joined the content that I have watched so I can reference it in other series and draw comparisons and connect those things. That part's going to be so much fun working with new shows now and be able to tie back into it. But honestly, I love this series so much. I can't begin to describe it. I just really, really love it. It's just so good. And now I'm really sad that I'm kind of taking a break from it for now. I'm so sad that I am. But knowing there is a movie coming out, knock on wood, hopefully, knowing that there's a movie in the works coming out has me so excited because it's like, this is not the end. This is just, okay, bye for now with Madoka Magica. And I will tell you right now, once we're done with that movie, once I've reacted to it, we will have another live stream. This is the end of series live stream for the series of Madoka Magica, but we will have to have a live stream to talk about the movie after it comes out. It's just going to have to happen. There's going to have to be that way. So yes. But yeah, I have heard Ginny Siska that the Fate series was written by the same creator as Urabochi. And if you like Urabochi's writing and you've not seen Psycho Pass, well, on July 21st, at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, I am going to be doing a live stream about Psycho Pass that's written by the same author as this series. So it's an Urabochi month of fun. So I'll put it here in the chat. I'm going to put him on my arm. He can sit there. Oh no, he's going to go there. So I'm going to put this down in the chat that the Psycho Pass live stream will be July 21st at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm so excited to talk about it with you all. If you've not seen Psycho Pass before now, you've got some time. You've got 15 days? You got 2 weeks. 2 weeks to catch up. You can do it. I believe in you. So yes, but the Fate Zero series, I do eventually want to get to that. I know it's going to be on a poll eventually. Don't ask me when, but I know it's on the short list. So it will come up. And knowing that it's created by the same creator as Madoka Magica is really exciting. But yes, I'm super, super excited about the Psycho Pass live stream. I have goodies to look at and share with you all. It's going to be great. Well, Gurnham, your elephant in the room, you got 14 days. That is plenty of time. I give y'all, that's my water bucket challenge to y'all. If you like Urabochi's writing, Psycho Pass has a special place in my heart as well. So I encourage you all to get into that series. But it is great, Alex Cornejo. It's really good. It's a fun time. If you like psychological thriller stuff and you like some action and shonen and if you like character development, you'll like a Psycho-Pass. Case in point. It's a different series. It's not perfect, but I would say, is it as flawless as Puella Magi Madoka Magica? No, I like Puella Magi Madoka Magica a little teeny bit more in terms of being flawless, but there are so many aspects of Psycho-Pass that I absolutely love, so I highly recommend it. But oh wow, cool, Swedish. Thank you, Wiljo. That's so cool. Thank you. How does the polling currently work? Well, I do lots of different polls, Lemonade, just to let you know. Most of them are on Patreon. So most of the time I will decide on a genre and Patreon, I will give me suggestions, and the ones that are suggested the most will be on a poll, and Patreon will vote for the winner. Sometimes I have a spinny wheel and I just choose shows based on Patreon suggestions from the wheel. I've done dartboards. I've had my dogs pick shows. Patreon does have a choice within the shows that I watch though too. So that you guys do drive a lot of the shows that I watch. My Friday slot is my choice though. So that slot's reserved for me. But yeah, it's Patreon does help me. And I usually a few months out get suggestions from Patreon. So it's like $1 to get on the Discord and to be able to give polls and have a vote there. So that's that. After Assassination Classroom, oh, I sadly will not be reacting to Assassination Classroom. I've already seen that anime. Fruits Basket 2019. I definitely want to get to it eventually. I think it's not won a lot of polls because I've read the manga for Fruits Basket. Now, granted, I read the manga 15 years ago, so it's been a second, but I do know how it ends. I've just forgotten like all the details in between. So eventually I like to react to the series and reminisce and remember, but yeah. Oh, definitely. I think Psycho-Pass seasons 2 and 3. The nice thing about Psycho-Pass is I know that seasons 2 and 3 don't get as glowing a review as season 1. I will say this. I think if you binge watch, it's the best format for Psycho-Pass. Just binge watching it. And also Lemonade, honestly, if I don't want to ever encourage people if they don't have the money to support me on Patreon, I get that. That's totally fine. I always like take suggestions. So even off of Patreon, I will take suggestions from YouTube. I just use Patreon to help me navigate the polls because those people are paying me to watch my stuff. So I feel like, well, if you're paying me, I should probably be watching stuff you're interested in as well as what I'm interested in. So that's kind of like just there. Oh, you're Dana Pro Pinkest. Oh my gosh. I was like, this Pro Pinkest is mentioning some really cool stuff on this chat. That's awesome. But I've not seen them in the comments. So that's awesome. And now I know. But yes, yeah, I have seen Assassination Classroom. It's one of my brother's favorite anime. So it's one of my brother's favorite series. So I watched it the same time he did. And we both really liked the series. One day, maybe I'll do like a post about it, but it is a fun time. Oh, Kuro Sensei has my heart. But yes. Oh, the Ghost Stories dub. Oh my God. Yeah. The Ghost Stories dub is one I definitely want to get to at some point. That's been on my chopping block for a while and hopefully I'll eventually get to it. Oh, and JVA, you're no Madoka. Look, see, we're all getting into that. Look at that. I love that everybody's revealing who they are now. I have heard the Ghost Stories dub is the stuff of legends. So I would eventually like to get into that as well. So fun times. It's an official abridged series. I'm so excited. I can't wait to eventually get to it. So, hey, Damage, nice to see you in here as well. Yes. So what a twist. It's like I teach online, so a lot of my classes. So when I have students online, they see me and they know my name, but then I don't know who they are because some of them don't have profile pictures online. So I'll see them walking around campus and they'll be like, "Oh, hey, professor." And I'm like, "Who are you? How do you know me?" And then I'm like, "Oh, wait, you were in my online class. So you know me, but I don't know you." I'm like, "That's seems legit." So yeah. Anyway, this is so much fun. I could sit here and talk about Madoka Magica for days. I'm so excited. But yes, if any of you all have recommendations, always feel free to give me recommendations. I have a never-ending list of anime that I will have me set until I'm 80. So I'm good there. But you know me, but I don't know you. Oh, Madoka and Homura. Yes, exactly. I feel this is why Homura is my favorite character. You got it. That's why Homer is my favorite, because I can connect. I can relate just without the time travel and the existential dread. So, yes, now it all makes sense. I didn't realize why it was clicking and connecting, but now I know. So, Dana, that's awesome. But thank you all so very much, or so I say. Thank you so very much. I do have, like I said, the Psychopaths live stream is going to be on July 21st. Really exciting. And then I sometime in late August, early September. Oh, thank you, McGivey Marie. That's awesome. Thank you so much for the support. You all are amazing. Thank you. I am going to have the stream in July, and then sometime in late August, early September, I'm probably going to have like one more live stream for the moment to round out like the series that I've finished, but not finished, just caught up on. So like Freerin, Uramichi Onisan, Trigun, Skip and Loafer, Blue Lock, probably having like a stream for like just a random catch up stream for like a couple hours just to talk with people about what's going on. But yeah, Utina, so excited about. I'm really looking forward to it. So I hope you all enjoy Revolutionary Girl Utina. So far, I won't say how many episodes I'm in because I'm trying to record ahead and I don't want to give anybody any false expectations. But I will say I am hooked officially to Utina and I am living for it. My 90s girl is being like just satisfied on levels that I'm excited to talk to you all about. So in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, your Monday, if you're on that time zone. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care. And yes, for sure, Geen, watch Utina. Tell your friends about Magi Madoka Magica and how great it is, and tell them they should get a Cube. Just don't make any wishes. I hope you all have a great week. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you all later. Bye. Thank you all so much. Have a great week. Ciao.